you want to cruise.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're hearing us through your ear holes, guess what? We're back.
We're back, y'all.
My name is Preston.
And I'm Nadia.
And this is No Business Like Show Business. And we are back for another awesome episode. I'm so excited, babe.
I'm so excited for our guest today. We have the amazing, that I just got the honor of meeting today, Katie Von Till, and my homie, Armand Vasquez.
Vasquez.
Yeah, some people were like, no, it's Vasquez. But so, yes, you guys, we're so honored to have you guys, and we're so thankful for your time.
Yes, thank you for coming to our house.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us here.
Braving the heat.
Yeah, it's hot.
Yeah, I live on the west side, and this
man.
is just like I'm on Jupiter right now.
Right. If you're tuning in, you're not from LA, the west side is like 10 degrees cooler.
Yeah,
consistently.
it's usually just 68 degrees at all times. It's amazing.
Ooh, that would be nice.
Oh, that
I don't know.
sounds like a dream.
Too much marine layer for me. Too much overcast. It would make me depressed, I think.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
How most of the morning is completely overcast, and then it breaks like midday.
It's really hard living on the by the water because you never know what the rest of the city's weather is like, so you don't know how to dress.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm usually wearing like 4 layers of clothes to go to an audition, and I get to like 200 South, and everyone's wearing like a tank top and shorts.
Like Bermuda
I
shorts.
just ask Alexa what the weather is in every city. Like,
love
Alexa,
that.
what's the weather in Burbank? Alexa, what's the weather in Santa Monica?
Right.
Alexa, what's the weather in Los Angeles? I just roll
Glendale.
Right through
It seems to me like that's probably the most asked question by Alexa. If they were to like,
what's the weather?
Yeah, pull all the information together, I'm sure it's, what's the weather today?
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
crazy.
imagine.
We just went to the beach this weekend, and we were like, it's so freaking hot. It's almost like 90 degrees out here.
Yeah.
And then we're like, let's go to the beach. I had a hoodie on.
Right.
It was so damn cold.
You can't win.
Yeah,
You can't win.
we went to Malibu on Sunday. A friend
Oh,
of mine.
you're fancy.
Well, no, because our mutual friend Parvesh China, he has a.
He's my friend too.
That's what I'm saying. Our mutual friend Parvesh China.
She's like, I thought you were talking about you.
All of our mutual friends. Let's face it. Everybody knows Parvesh. Anyway,
Right.
And we're all friends.
exactly. He and his partner just recently got a dog, and they've discovered this dog beach in Malibu.
Oh, yeah.
Called the Staircase or the
I
Stairway
never heard of it.
Beach or whatever.
Oh, I haven't heard that either.
So my girlfriend and I were getting dressed to go, and I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be so hot, like blah, 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 blah. And we get there, and it's literally 65 degrees
Oh, hell.
and cloudy and just freezing cold.
You're like, you need socks, pants, a sweater.
Yeah. I was like, I'm so glad I rolled up and or at least brought my hoodie because
Right?
it was so cold.
You almost got to keep it in your car.
Yeah.
Just
you really
make
do.
sure.
Yeah.
You open the trunk and there's a wardrobe.
Car hoodie.
And that's the life of actors, right? I mean,
Yeah.
speaking of actors and having you guys on, this episode is going to be a super special one for us. We're really excited about diving into some details about SAG AFTRA and the new commercial contracts, and you guys play a huge role in that, and we're excited to hear your thoughts. But before we dive into that, we want to kind of hear about your stories.
Just a little bit. We want a little to know like
little
how you got
pepper.
to where you guys are at
Yeah, a little salt
today.
and pepper.
Yeah.
Let's start with Katie.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
so
all
where'd you all begin in this crazy entertainment world?
Well, I began at age 8, actually. My dad wanted to do something with his daughter, the way he'd done Little League with my brother.
Oh,
and he
yeah.
saw an audition notice for a local production of Annie, and we both auditioned, and we were both cast. So I started doing community
That's
theater.
cool.
That is
Yeah.
so
What a
freaking
cool
cool.
dad.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool dad. So that's how I got started. And then, of course, I went to Michigan State, studied theater there, went to New York for 4 years.
Did you love it?
Oh, no, I hate New York. New York is a terrible,
Okay,
terrible place.
I've never been for longer than 8 hours.
You're good. You're good. It's fine. You don't need it.
I hear the pictures are better.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful for 2 weeks at a time. So I was in New York for 4 years and then decided to move West Coast because I knew I always wanted to do television and film, but I was focusing on stage then. And
Yeah.
But I thought, well, it would be nice to be closer to home. It'll be warmer, sunnier.
Oh, yeah.
I can
76.
warm up in my car instead of on the subway like a crazy person. This will be much more humane. So I came out to LA, kept doing theater for another several years, but started breaking into television and film a little bit and voiceover. I do a lot of voiceover.
That's amazing.
And commercials and you name it. If it's union and it pays, I do it.
I love it.
You're like, I'm your girl.
Yeah.
Does your dad still do acting now?
He hasn't in a really long time. Every once in a blue moon,
Yeah.
something comes along, but for the most part, no.
But tell them what your dad does for a living.
Yeah.
He's an attorney.
Nice.
Nice. So he's like an actor.
So when you say
Kidding. In a way, people are
Well, he's
always
a
like-
litigator.
Yeah.
So yeah, he
Oh,
does.
wow.
He does.
It's
you
a
know,
performance.
jury. He does jury trials. Yeah. so.
yes,
People are like, you should always like, oh, well, you should have been a lawyer. I'm like,
totally.
thanks. I don't know.
That's
Yeah.
cool because now your whole life you could have said, "I'm going to talk to my lawyer."
That's right. Oh, I
You
do
know?
it all the time. It's like, hey, my lawyer's free. So
Right?
if you want to go against me, good luck.
You're like,
Yeah.
you ain't going
Unlimited hours.
Yeah.
Well, one of the really great things about Katie is when we're doing committee work or whenever we're doing any work really with SAG AFTRA, one of the things that I really, really like about her is she does have a litigious mind. She does think like an attorney. She digs deep in a lot of things and brings up things that I never would have thought of. And
Yeah.
I'm always like just continually impressed by the things that she does and says. It's really, really impressive to watch.
Thanks, Armand. You know what he's really great at?
Oh, I
Flat-
know.
flattery.
Impressions.
like character impressions?
No.
Like people that you know, like
Yes.
impressions.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
If there was nothing else that I contributed to in New York during negotiations, well, 3 years ago when we were fast approaching the deal, it was a very stressful night before we officially signed it and cemented it, and everybody's freaking out. Everyone's really nervous. Levels of anxiety are through the roof. And so I just felt like the best way to sort of calm everybody down was I just started doing impressions of everybody in the room that was with us.
I love that.
Ooh, I might be
So-
asking you to do one of me.
Right?
Just kidding.
I don't know about. I need to hang out with you a little
Be
bit.
careful
Right?
what you ask for.
I know, right? I know.
It's gonna be real.
Scared.
But I would just literally go around the room to where everybody was sitting, and wherever you were sitting, I would get in your chair and I would do you.
Oh, that's awesome.
For like maybe 30 seconds or something like that, and then the whole room, just like I think the air was let out of the room, and everyone was just like ready to just
Move
relax
forward.
and
He's so
release.
good
Yeah,
at
so-
it.
I
It's
love
and,
it.
and has that been a part of your journey? Like impersonating people? Is that what got you connected?
Well, you know what? I remember the minute that I wanted to be an actor, and I knew that this is it. And I was maybe 6 years old, and my mom was a single mom for a little bit, and so
Where are you from?
I grew up in Illinois. So
Okay.
I'm originally from California. So my dad.
Okay.
Me too, native.
Yeah, there
Me
you go.
too.
I was born in L.A., California Hospital downtown.
Me too.
No way.
Shut up.
Well, yes.
Literally.
Literally California Hospital.
What?
On Hope Street.
Yes.
Yes.
My mom used to take the bus there. I know, we're like brothers and sisters.
I wonder what rooms. Oh my
I know.
gosh.
Well,
I
I'm
think
not
I'm
gonna-
older than her.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask what
yeah.
you
Don't ask me- don't ask me on
say it,
air.
Don't do it.
That'll be off air.
But so
25.
Yes, exactly.
Me too.
I'm originally from here. My parents got a divorce. My mom moved us back to Illinois, where it'd be easier to raise 3 kids, where her family's from. So I grew up in Illinois, but when I was little, she let me stay up late, and excuse me. And one of her favorite things to do was to watch these old movies. So I would watch like Somewhere in Time. I watched On Golden Pond.
Oh, nice.
I watched like the Twilight Zone movie.
Yes.
All these old movies. Oh, Gone with the Wind is like one of my mom's favorites.
I still have not seen that movie.
Really?
I know it's like
That's okay.
I mean, it is
It's
a bit
okay.
of it is a bit of a slog, but
it's a long one, right?
oh,
I've
very
never
long.
seen The Godfather.
Oh, we'll see.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah, we're
But
terrible
I would
people.
do one of the very first things that I did is I would do a Katharine Hepburn impression for my mom, and it would make her laugh. And when I saw her laugh when I caused someone else to laugh, like that was it. That's when hook me up. I'm addicted to this drug.
That's awesome.
You're like, how can I make you laugh forever?
Yeah, and so I just started to mimic. You just grow up mimicking people.
Yeah.
And you start to make people laugh, and that's where it kind of like it grew. And my mom would watch like Entertainment Tonight, and I would watch those red carpet interviews, and I saw like celebrities talking about movies and TV, and I just became obsessed. And we would watch like Dynasty and The Love Boat, and I forget some of those other shows that my mom watched, but I just became obsessed with acting and with performing. And
That's awesome.
my mom is also a singer too, so she grew up playing like all these different instruments and was an incredible performer and singer.
So it runs in the family.
Yeah, so I was just drawn to it, and then and the great thing about my mother too is that she never told me not to pursue it. She never stood in my way. She never said like maybe you should think about doing something else. And so I just kind of every opportunity that I had, I would take it, and I never got like a major role. I never got the lead, but I did like West Side Story in 8th grade,
No
and
way.
that was like a game changer for me. And what's funny about that is that I went to I grew up in Southern Illinois with a bunch of white kids, me being like the only brown kid, and I was like, well, I'm gonna be a shark.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a shark.
Yeah.
It's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
But I got cast as a jet.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, but it was the best time because like if you get cast in West Side Story, like the better parts are in the Jets and the better songs are in the Jets.
You're like, I got this.
So, from there, it was all downhill. I did a bunch of plays in high school. I went to Illinois, the University of Illinois, another Big Ten school.
Yep.
They have a really great theater program there, and had a great time, learned a lot, failed a lot as well, which I think
Like
is
your classes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I went to a Big Ten school. I wanted that big university.
All A's here. All A's.
Like,
Listen,
I'm with you on the failed train.
yeah, I wanted
I'm like, perfect student over here.
Yeah, same.
This is the perfect student couch.
Yeah, exactly.
And failed chairs.
You guys can take the orange chairs.
well, you tell yourself that you're never like the one thing that I said was I'm not going to join a fraternity when I get to school. And
Right.
Of course, like day 2.
Oh my God, I did the same thing. I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not buying my friends. And I was like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
That actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah. So anyway, I finally got my shit together and graduated with the help of some really amazing students that were classmates of mine that really kind of led by example, and I just followed their lead. And they really
awesome.
they really taught me what it meant to be and what it took to be a professional actor, because I really did screw around for a couple of years, and I really owe them a tremendous amount. And one of them being Parvesh, like
I was gonna
Parvesh and
say-
Our mutual friend.
Yeah, we went to college together. We met first day of freshman year, and we've been best friends ever since.
Wow.
So then, you graduate from Illinois and you go to Chicago for a little bit and you do the theater scene there.
Did you do any comedy out there?
No, I didn't. You know what's funny is I never even considered comedy. Like improv, I always thought was like, well, that's below me. I'm going to be a serious theater
Right.
actor.
Yeah.
Of course, darling.
Yeah, and so I just thought I was going to do theater for the rest of my life. But by the time I got to Chicago, all my Chicago friends were like, "We're moving to LA."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Oh, okay, then I guess it's time to go to LA." And so,
You're like, I guess I'm going too.
yeah. But like I've always had family here, and I'm from here, and I've always considered LA to be like a second home. So it was a foregone conclusion that I would end up.
But
in LA.
now it's home.
Yeah, and
Like,
now
do
it's
you see yourself leaving here ever?
never.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, obviously, I think we all would love to work other places, but just to
Totally.
work.
Yeah.
Like to be a hub here and
Yeah,
then the
but-
bounce out.
But Southern California to me offers so many great things. Even if I wasn't an actor, I think I would want to live in.
I'm only
Southern
moving if like
California.
it falls into the ocean.
Right.
Right.
With all
Other
these
than
damn
that, I'm here.
earthquakes.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'm here.
I experienced
yeah.
my first like legit
Oh.
earthquake the other day. I was sitting on this
Ah.
couch and it started happening, and then I realized how severely underprepared I was because I'm not from LA. I'm the only transplant here,
Yeah.
and so whenever I moved here, I'm used to hurricanes and tornadoes. That I can prepare for all day long, but the earth just moving
I was
to
like-
me is like you can't do
You
anything.
can't do anything.
I was like, why is Preston jumping on the couch?
I spent the
Because
rest
I
of the
lo-
night
Might
making
as
an
well.
emergency
But he
kit.
wasn't. I was like, looked up and the plants were shaking. I was like, oh shit, it's an earthquake. He's not
Oh.
jumping on the couch.
She thought I was
you
just
just need to
bouncing.
get down,
Yeah.
hold on to something, and cover your head.
And write it out.
Then
Yeah.
write it out.
You
And
know what
then
we
Just
did?
make sure you've got supplies.
We ran outside, which that's
And
not,
I
you're not
know
supposed
better.
to do
And
that.
I know better. But he like was like, what do we do? We grabbed our son and we like went outside. I was like,
No, you gotta
one of
have-
these dishes is
Yeah.
gonna fall on our
Yeah.
freaking heads.
Yeah, you
I-
got to bunker. You got to hunker down,
Hunker
right?
down, yep.
No, but Katie's right. Though I think the most important thing you're supposed to do is cover your head.
Yeah, cover your head.
That's the one thing that they say. Like, just I don't know, cover your head. That's it.
Yeah,
Over your head.
it's like the drills in the airplane. They're like, if we're going down, put your head in your lap and cover it. It's like that's not doing nothing, except
always
just
had-
keeping you like calm
We
and
always
everyone
had
chill.
drills in elementary school. It was like under the table and cover your head.
Yeah, if you're near a table, then you should get under a table, but you should not go to get under a table because the majority of the injuries are actually like broken.
Traveling.
Yeah, they're broken ankles, they're sprained ankles, or things like that where people are trying to get where they want to go and they end up falling down. Oh, wow. So
That makes total sense.
You don't want to do that.
I went on a earthquake YouTube rabbit trail.
Oh,
After
Lord,
that,
he was
and I
like making these like bracelets with like rope.
Hey, listen,
like these
if
like
you guys
survivor. I'm like, where
you
are we
need a
going,
parachute rope
Preston?
bracelet.
Yeah, parachute fucking bracelet. I'm like, what are we doing with this ever?
Is that to
Yeah.
hang out your window?
So the rope supposedly you can hold a lot of weight with it, so you can use it to climb in an emergency
I
situation.
don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not
You
climbing
can use
anything.
it to
If you
to
wanna
strap up things and yeah,
You
and it
remind
goes
me-
around your wrist.
Maybe some water or canned goods.
we have a lot of water. We have canned goods. We have freeze dried food that you add water to and all that stuff. I mean, next step for us is a generator.
Right?
Yeah,
How we
which my
can be
husband wants to get.
self-sufficient.
Yeah, my husband's like you. He wants to have all the things and do all the things. So
He's
that's nice.
an intense human. I love him.
Yeah,
he's
he's
so
great.
intense.
Is he involved in acting? Is
He
that
is.
his
His
thing?
name is Hayes Hargrove, and he's an actor too.
That's awesome.
We met in a casting director workshop.
I love it.
Yeah,
That's
and,
so cool.
And occasionally I have voice matched his ex-wife, which is weird, but okay.
Whatever pays the
Well,
bills.
yeah, whatever pays the bill. That's fine.
Whatever the role demands
Yeah.
as an
Yeah.
actor.
Yeah.
I love that. And so how did you guys meet? Was it a part of SAG?
Yeah,
or-
we met doing union service, and was it during W&Ws for the previous contract for the 2016 contract?
Well, I think when we properly met was during one of our like Unite for Strength meetings.
Might have been that.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Honestly, because I was aware of you when we started doing like commercial work. Commercial union stuff specifically. I think it was at the 2016 convention. Was there a convention in 2016? No, 2017.
2015 convention.
2015.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, 2015 convention because
Yeah.
you knew Parvesh through VO stuff.
Yep.
And he was like, you need to know Katie Von Till.
Oh, I just know him through Out and About.
Oh.
We met at a casting director workshop too.
Got it.
He and I.
Yeah. He used to do a lot of casting director workshops.
Yeah.
But that's when I first met Katie was at convention
Yeah, that makes
2015,
sense.
which was my first like foray into union service.
Same.
love it.
We were both newbies then. So, and I got wrapped into that by Asaf Cohen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what brought you to.
Parvesh.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Nice.
So,
Nice. So you guys have been actively serving since like for 4 years
For
now?
4 years,
yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't even, it's so funny because I
I'm
was listening.
exhausted.
Right.
I'm sure, but I was listening to another podcast you did,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was really cool because I've been a member since 2007,
Mm-hmm.
but it's one of those things where it's like I've never thought like I listened to a part where you're like, hey, like this is something that you can be a part of. Like
Yeah.
I always thought it was just this thing that the building on Wilshire.
Yeah.
I
that
thought the
does
exact
everything.
same thing. So I bought into SAG through Actors Equity because I was a equity member first.
Yeah.
And you could just buy in your membership through a sister union. So I didn't like work my way up the ranks or get vouchers or any of that stuff. I
Yeah.
just gave them my check and I was a member. And I went to 5757 Wilshire to give them my check and sign up. And then I never went back.
Yeah.
Right.
I never went back. Big giant building. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel welcome. I didn't know that it was really up to me to get involved.
Right.
That's
I didn't know I
crazy.
needed to get involved. And I say this to actors when I teach them about tracking their money and taking more financial responsibility for what they do in this business. I say, don't feel badly for this because as actors, our job is to follow direction, is to
Yeah.
yes and. So if nobody told you to do it,
Right.
how would you have known?
How'd you,
Exactly.
It wasn't until
Nobody told me. I didn't know.
How
Yeah.
would you have even thought that was a thing? And it is such a thing where you have to be so proactive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even. I mean, aside from like the SAG stuff, it was a couple years when I started working more regularly commercially, and it didn't even occur to me. I was like, oh, my agents just send my checks. But it's
Yeah,
like,
no.
like 1 year I found almost $6,000 of like my friend was like, girl, there's a billboard of you in Chicago, and I'm like, what? Girl,
What?
take a picture of that
Yeah.
because I never got paid, and there was YouTube stuff that I never got paid for, and there was like I was like. Ever since then, I was like, I have to be more of a, like, even though
Yeah.
you just have to
An
be more-
advocate for yourself.
An advocate for
Yeah,
yourself.
I mean, I've recovered over 40 grand
That's
of my
crazy.
own money just
Wow.
One
by
of-
keeping track of
Yeah,
stuff.
one of the great SAG After Work aside, Katie Von Till is one of the greatest advocates for actors in that she has taught people how to recoup so much lost money that they otherwise would not have ever seen. And I don't even know what the number must be in terms of how much money you've helped people get back. But
I don't know, but I get phone calls all the time like, hey, thank you so much. We just recovered $18,000.
Wow.
I got one last week. Oh, thanks so much. Just got $2,800.
that's health insurance. You know what I mean?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
health insurance
100%.
a year.
Yeah.
And then send my 10%. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. Everybody's like, oh, you should do it for a business, but it's not fun.
Right? It's tedious.
It's real tedious. And I find that when I do help other people, I don't do my own because I'm like, well, I scratched that itch
Right.
now, and now I can let my, it's like an excuse for me not to do my own stuff.
You're like, no.
a project to focus in on so
Yeah.
you don't have to worry so much.
Yeah.
But I think just to further the point, I think it just further underscores the fact that we as actors need to be so proactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because nobody else will.
And we have to teach each other about stuff because
Right.
how else are we going to know? Like everybody's
Yeah.
like, oh, actors are backstabbing, but I find that actors share tons of information
Yeah.
and tips and tricks.
Totally, because I think it feels like, especially when you first get started, it feels like there is no right or wrong way, and you're on your own team, and it feels so isolating that it's like, I think that's a really important message and something we were excited to have you guys on about, because when you can look at the union and as not the building, not people in charge who are in suits, but as fellow us, and something that you can even participate in. If you're a union member, you can participate in
Well, you
being
are
a
the union,
voice.
right?
We are.
Yeah.
We all are sitting here
Yeah.
are the union. The union is its members. And I'll tell you, though, what brought me to the union initially was missing money. And I was pissed. I was
Right.
pissed. I showed up to the union because I was angry.
Yeah.
And when they started the ads, it's now called the Ads Go Union campaign, but it used to be called the Corey.
Yeah, the Corey Best in the Biz campaign.
Yeah. I showed up to the first like town hall because I was like, why aren't we getting our money better? Like I was just mad. And then I realized, don't be mad, get involved.
And
Love
also, we're going to use maybe some, what's the word, initials, but the Corey stands for Commercials Organizing and Recapturing Initiative. And that was
got it.
that was what ads, the current Ads Go Union campaign started out as. And it was this
Gotcha.
movement to, the union recognized that more and more commercials were going non-union and what needed to be done in order to secure more work for the union members.
And what year was this?
2015, it sounds like.
Was that
2015?
Because I was going to say
Yeah,
that's when I think that
2015.
things started going more non-union.
Or
like-
2014 maybe? 2014, 2015?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely when the union, either staff-wise, membership-wise, recognized that there is indeed
a problem. And I think to simplify that problem for our listeners, I think there's a really big issue that was happening where a lot of commercials, big company commercials, were foregoing union actors to be able to save money.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of commercials that are going non-union so that they can hire actors who could be great and a valuable member of the union, but just aren't there yet.
Yeah.
For less. So in the end, the actor is the one who gets less money, less protection. Usually those jobs have an incredible more amount of demand. Sometimes they require you to do things that you shouldn't do if you're a part of the union, like use your car for the commercial or
Crazy.
do your own stunts or something like that.
The only loser in that scenario, in the non-union scenario, is the actor,
Right.
because companies are getting you for less, and agents are double dipping. They're taking 20% commission off the non-union work, and they're taking an additional agency fee, which you might relate similarly to the packaging fees that the WGA is getting. It's essentially a fee from your employer to convince your agent to send good talent on their crappy job.
Wow.
So they're making 40%.
That's crazy.
Off of the money.
Yeah.
So it's not an apples to apples for your agent. So agents will sell you, you should stay non-union as long as you can, or work off the card or
There's
be
more
financial
non-union
core.
jobs.
They will sell you a load of goods because they don't care about you.
Right.
Yeah.
And they are making bank.
It's
Yeah.
funny. He had an agent for a
I
really
was just
long
going
time.
to say that. I had an agent who that was their advice to me.
all the
I think-
time.
I
You
think
should stay as non-union as long as you can because that's how you're going to work. And I'm like,
Got to the point where I was like, my union, because at the time I had done a union job, so SAG eligible.
yeah.
So I was trying to get in. And so at the time, I started seeing less and less union submissions, it felt like.
Correct.
And so I had a conversation about like, hey, is this the what's happening, or is this just
They didn't want
your
you to book it.
direction? And
Yeah.
I believe that that's
They
what it
didn't
was.
want you to book it
because then
they
you'd have to go
Yeah.
union.
You'd have to go union, and they're making more money off of you non-union.
That's
And
so crazy.
also, you have to think about the relationship between, and if people listening take nothing else away, take this away, and that is have the confidence in yourself and the strength in yourself to ask your agent the hard questions, to have
Yeah.
those difficult conversations
Yeah.
with your agent. The fact of the matter is that they have a business that they need to keep open. They also need to look good for these casting directors.
Right.
So
Right.
they're going to continue to send their quote unquote talented non-union actors off to these auditions all the time because they want to make sure that these casting directors continue to call them and
Right.
keep their doors open. And you'll find that those casting directors will keep those actors into a separate pile from the union actors. So find yourself stuck in this non-union hole that you cannot get out of. And we've heard that from casting directors. They say, I know my group of actors that I always call for non-union stuff, and I keep them there. Even if they're SAG eligible, I will not consider them for union work because they are my bread and butter for.
And they
for
are
so it's
more
even
scarce
happening
over
on-
there. They are more
Wow.
scarce over there, right? So it's like you. I've spoken a lot to producers as well who will say, "Oh yeah, we have to have more days when we're doing a non-union spot because it takes longer to find people because they're just." They aren't as seasoned necessarily.
Right.
It doesn't mean there aren't some great non-union talent. There
No,
absolutely
not at
is,
all.
100%. But they're a smaller pool within that larger pool. So they kind of hoard them. They're like, well, we got to keep this guy because we have a non-union car commercial coming up next week. We don't want to bring him in for this union car commercial because then he's going to be conflicted out. We don't want to do it. So that happens. The other thing I just want to say is the agents are making more money on the non-union stuff. However, as time has gone by, they're making less and less because what's happened, and I know this because we're privy as active members in the Commercial Performers Committee to a lot of the non-union breakdowns. And the wages for non-union have been going down and down and down
Girl,
and down.
it's crazy.
And the plus 20 agency fee has also been going down. I've been seeing plus 15, plus 10,
Wow.
no agency fee. And so basically 40% of nothing, which is where this is going, is nothing.
Right.
Exactly.
So
Well, that's the
eventually
funny
it's going to matter to
Yeah,
them too.
they're shooting themselves in the foot. They just don't have foresight.
Right.
What's this thing of perpetuating that
Yeah.
like scarcity mentality? Because I remember back in the day when I would hear like, well, I know I was telling Armand a little bit earlier that, you know, you have these friends that have reached out that were like, hey, like my friend's a single mom and, you know, she's like
Yeah.
not booking and her agents are really telling her she should go fight core. Like, do you think, I mean, and I'm not like super involved, but I just know where I stand on the issue, even though like I don't have your guys' background, where I'm like, listen, like at the end of the day, like she's not going to be protected. At the end of the day, the union isn't stronger every time somebody goes fight core because it's so crazy. In 2007, when I've had more of a career commercially than theatrically, but I do want to be doing television and film.
Sure.
Right.
And it's one of those things where it was 2007. I got this manager. I booked this web series that at the time, like web series were kind of newer. So it was like the writers from Cheers, you know, Emmy Award winning writers. And, but it's non-union, so you should go fight core. And I was like, I didn't know what it was. I had just joined the union like maybe a couple months before. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, well, I did one commercial, but I want to be doing like
TV and
theatrical
film.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I went fight core and really the job was crazy the way that they shot it. Like
Yeah.
it was for the amount of work that I had to do for the 14 days on this web series and what I got paid was garbage.
Yeah.
And after the fact, I told my manager, I was like, I need to like get reinstated because this is crazy. And so I did. I ended up having to pay all this extra money. And ever since then, I just have such a bad like taste in my mouth of like
Yeah.
how they try to pitch that stuff to you. Because there's
Yeah.
always can be a reason to go fight core. Like people,
Yeah, and it's always short term.
yes,
Yeah.
It's always
so
right
short-term.
now. It's never about your career or your longevity in this business or this business's longevity.
Right.
I
Yep.
say to young actors coming up, I say, you've got to support the union even before you're in the union because if you want those big jobs to exist,
Right.
when it's
Yeah.
your turn to have them,
Right.
you need to support the union now.
Exactly.
And people say, oh, well, I don't do commercials. I just want to do TV and film. And what happens to commercials, what happens to our union befalls other contracts, befalls other unions. Basically, I don't know if you know this, but a couple of major networks were experimenting with non-union scripted television shows. I'm
Wow.
talking one of the big networks
Wow.
and a big cable network that if I named, you would know.
Yeah.
And those, neither pilot went. I believe Nickelodeon right now has a non-union scripted show that shoots out of Florida called Frankie something or other. Like it will happen.
Yeah.
It will happen.
If you allow it to happen, it
Yeah.
will happen.
Yeah.
What I see, well, the reason why I brought that up was because I remember back in the day, I would sit in an audition room and I would hear like other people talk and it'd be like, yeah, you know, this non-union audition was like $30,000 buyout. And at the time it seemed so great, but girl, it's like, okay, fast forward to now. No.
that same job's paying a gift card.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah. It's like paying
Exactly.
$500 for 2 years
No,
of like,
literally a job right now that's paying a gift card.
No, I thought you were.
Oh, no. It's paying a gift card. And that's the second gift card job I've seen. I also saw a hotel chain paying you in hotel miles.
Wow.
That is, how's anybody, no, that's where I see the trajectory of that. When you compromise a little bit, that's where compromise gets you.
Exactly. All it takes is one person to agree to that.
Exactly. And then guess what? That's the precedent.
Yep, that's yep.
And I think, something that hits me hard as like a full package thing is that's why I think it's so important as an actor to kind of, you were saying, be proactive, and then with your work at being able to financially plan for your future. Yeah. I think those two things can set you up to free yourself financially so that you're not looking at a gift card going, well, I can really eat today.
Right.
And you know what? I can really use that gift card. Yeah. Because, living out in LA, it's so expensive.
Yeah.
And especially if you're trying to make it as an actor, the jobs come few and far between. So when you hear actors on podcasts or radios and we're talking about like, what, $500 for a job? I used to be that guy that was like, that's a lot of money. Right. Because to me, at my season in life and my lack of knowledge for preparing myself for the future, I'd be like, but I need that.
Right.
But to see,
and nobody tells you what that means. What that means for your future.
Right.
Nobody ever says that. People love to say, how going FICOR hurts all of us, and it does. But it really hurts the individual who's done it.
Right.
We've also, I've also am privy to statistics within the union, and we show. Statistically, of course, there are outliers. Once a member goes FICOR, their union earnings go down. So a lot of people will say, oh, I'm supplementing my union earnings with this non-union earnings. But what they're really doing is replacing it. Right. And that's not a dollar for match, even if they were making the same, which they're not, because everything's going down. Like
less pension, less for your
they're taxed
health insurance
at a different rate, right? Because you're paid 1099. You can't apply for unemployment.
You're
1099. You can't apply for unemployment. I mean, you're not paying into Social Security. Like this is bad.
Right.
That's so bad. I had no idea.
It's so bad.
The union dollar the union dollar versus a non-union dollar, the value is completely off. It's far more valuable than a non-union dollar, just for all the reasons that Katie mentioned.
Right.
Yeah.
You have health insurance, you qualify for your pension, you can qualify for unemployment.
Paying to Social Security.
Exactly. Whereas, like she said, when you're 1099ing, you're responsible for all that.
You're an independent contractor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you got a wonderful tax at the end of the year on all of those earnings that weren't set aside for you.
Not to mention, let's say you do a non-union job and they don't pay you. 30 days go by, no check.
Yeah.
60 days go by, no check. 90 days go by, no check. What do?
You got no one.
That's right.
You have no one there to fight for you.
I mean, you can call, but
sure.
Good luck.
Yeah.
You're up a
Good
paddle.
luck, Chuck.
The way that one of the major selling points that I talk about with making sure that you go union is, people are always complaining, and myself included. Like, listen, it's expensive sometimes.
Yeah.
To pay your dues.
Oh yeah,
But-
especially if you had a good year.
Right.
But it's because you made that money.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
But that's the thing.
But-
It's part of it.
But that money, to me, the first thing I say is that money buys you some of the best legal defense you can buy in the United States of America.
And if you think about it, it's a small percentage of what is it, like 3%?
No, it's 1.5.
Okay.
I mean, it's tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you're paying 10, 15% of what you earned.
And I think to put it in perspective, if you're out there and you're going, oh, my dues, and that's a struggle for you, I think putting a kind of a face to a name to me is important. What you're paying for, well, get involved and you'll see.
Yeah.
Right? Talk with people who are involved and you'll see that it's not a building, that there are resources that Nadia is finding out.
So many good resources.
So many resources to learn
Listen,
about how to financially manage your money.
Full transparency. Like I went through a divorce in 15.
Me too.
No way.
That was the year, 2015.
Actually, it was
everything.
2014 for me. It was 2014.
2015, and it was really like a really rough year for me. And I was able to hit up, I didn't even know about the Actors Fund, and I didn't even know about that. And it was such a blessing at the time to just help me with that month for my rent. Like
Yes.
I was like, this is a thing. And then the people that I spoke to, like the counselors were so amazing. And they were like,
They offer great
hey,
tips.
well, and even then they're like, hey, you can sign up to do these free workshops. You sound like you've had a lot of experience as a working actor. Like you can actually take the advanced workshop for free. And you have these financial classes for free, nuts and bolts. And like, that's, I was like, wow, like that's part of what the support that you have for being in the union.
Yeah, financial support, educational support. I mean, training, and that not just for the life stuff like that, but also actor training stuff.
Yes.
You can take. There's free improv classes and voiceover classes, and there's the conservatory, and there's always something to attend that you can learn or meet somebody or gain a new skill.
And not to and not to forget the one thing that we love the most around awards season time is
screeners.
But not only that, but you also get free movie screenings where you get to go to a theater and you can watch a movie there. And those were and honestly, I think the SAG AFTRA screenings, like at the DGA or the WGA, those were my first interactions, with union events.
Oh,
was
yeah.
the screenings. But you're right. I mean, I too have used the Actors Fund or the SAG AFTRA Foundation. If you're an actor listening to this and you're struggling, know that there are resources at SAG AFTRA that can help you with whatever you're going through. They offer counseling, whether it's financial counseling, whether it's emotional counseling. All that is there for you.
Help you pay your rent.
Yes.
Help you pay for school if you decide to transition into something
That was
else.
another thing I didn't even know about, that they will help pay some of your tuition if it's like another field.
Yeah, like if you're going to go to grad school for, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Something.
XYZ.
Yeah,
But
XYZ.
and there's also really great classes you can take to figure out where your skills lie and how you can apply them into another job.
Yeah.
Potentially
Right.
looking for another career. If you need help looking for a side hustle, they will show you how to properly create a resume. If you've never done that sort of thing, there are resources there to help you. And so that's why when people are like, but I need to eat, so I'm going to take this non-union job. And there's a person that we work with in these committees she is so brilliant, and I love her. She says, what makes you so special? We all need to eat.
Yeah,
We
you ain't
all
the
have-
only one.
We all have bills to pay.
Lori Hendler.
Well, I wasn't going to name names, but
I'm sure she's compassionate too, but that's
Yeah.
tough.
She says,
love.
I have to eat.
Yeah,
I have to eat.
We all
yeah,
have to.
we all do.
Yeah.
There's nothing that makes you any different. If you have a child, if you have bills to pay, we all have bills to pay. We all have responsibilities. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about what you believe in.
Right.
Well, to
Yeah.
me, it's at the end of the day, if you want to make a living as an actor, or if you
Correct.
always want to have a side hustle, because that's what the non-union world means.
Totally.
The non-union world means you will never be a full-time actor.
And that's where I think if we don't unite, I think it's one of those things where that line will keep getting pushed further and further of what it is to be a working actor. Because I've just even talked to people, like when it was really bad, when a lot of things were going on, we're like, man, like when I first started, it took me a while to start working where I was able to make health insurance consistently and stuff. It took me a couple years. But at that time, it was when people were booking like a couple commercials and buying a house and
Right.
like I'm talking
That's before
like
my time.
Yeah, that was
Right.
before my time
Yeah.
too. So it was like, so it's just interesting where I think you have some people, and I have even some people that are in like different departments of like, they're not actors, but they do other things that they're in the union for. It's almost like they have a hard time getting past that's not where we're at right now because of all of the new media, like just with the nature of the beast, right? So it's like people still want things to be like back in the like the heyday of like making 60,000 off of like one commercial and you're booking 3 or even 150,000 off of that
Sure.
one. And again, some people still probably get
Yes.
those jobs and they multiple jobs. I don't know.
Those jobs exist, but you have to remember that the nature of advertising has changed so
So much.
much. And if we're talking just
Yeah.
about commercials,
Yeah.
the nature of advertising has changed so much. Those people that were buying houses off one commercial, that was in a world where there were 3 networks, maybe 4 with Fox.
Right.
But now we are talking about cable, we're talking about internet, we're talking about Wild Spot. Also, commercials don't run as long as
Yeah,
they used to.
they make
Exactly.
one and air it for years.
I remember
You
a
remember
Folgers
the
commercial
yeah.
that went from
Yeah.
like kindergarten through like junior high.
Exactly.
Yeah,
when I was growing up.
Now
Exactly.
it's so cheap now to make commercials. They're
Right.
like, we'll just make a new one.
Exactly.
It used to be expensive to have the production, and now it's not. It's like now when you shoot a commercial, they're always shooting like 5.
I was gonna just
Right.
say
They're never shooting
literally
one.
they'll be like, we're shooting 6 spots within
Yeah.
like this one thing.
So people will say, "Oh, commercials don't pay what they used to." No, they actually pay more. It's that they run less.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's so important to remember, that point right there, because people are like, oh, we don't make as nearly as much as we used to. What's the union doing? Like, fuck
Right.
them. Like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
people say, I've
But,
literally
like,
heard that.
We
Yeah.
cannot
true.
dictate.
It's crazy.
We cannot dictate what Nike wants
Decides-
to do with their campaign.
Exactly.
We cannot tell Apple to run your commercial for 17 years.
No, they're like, 2 weeks.
Hi,
we're good.
Folgers. This is SAG AFTRA. Could you please keep this commercial running for 12 years, please? Thank you so much.
I know you
woman
don't
is
sell
now,
that product
woman is
again.
now like middle-aged.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
started off as a teenager in that commercial.
But what we do is make sure that you get paid for the day that you work.
Yeah.
And that as long as it does run, that you are paid for the run and that you are protected with exclusivity, that your image is protected. And,
Yeah.
let the chips fall where they may after
Right.
that. But for people to get upset about the fact that, like, I can't go buy a house in Encino, with this
Right.
Chase commercial. Well, like,
Well, it ran for 8 weeks
It's
because
all
it was
about-
like a special rate that they were giving on their whatever.
it's all about keeping things in perspective, and I just hope that everybody listening, if you are FICOR, if you've thought about going FICOR, if somebody told you to do that or to do non-union jobs, to please reconsider, because you really are doing yourself and everyone else around you a disservice.
And if you're thinking about coming back, Nadia said there was extra money that you had to pay.
Yeah.
And there is when coming back, but you can also just decide not to do non-union work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can't afford to come back as a
It's not
full-fledged
worth it.
member, just stop doing it.
Yeah.
Just stop. But you can come back. You can petition. Well, theoretically you can. You have to petition to come back. You have to, disclose the things that you've done and reasons you want to come back, and that information will go in front of a committee. And then you may be required to pay a certain amount of back dues and maybe the initiation fee over again, things like that. It really depends how long you've been out.
Yeah.
And how egregious your non-union stuff was. But I encourage you that if you are FICOR, do consider coming back. And if you can't, for whatever reason, just stop doing non-union work.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where, speaking from experience, like I felt like it wasn't even worth it. Like, and this was in 2007, right? So this was 12 years ago.
Right.
And even then it was like, I remember I heard from somebody, it might have been a fellow actor that was like, yeah, like they're going to start making it really difficult for people that are FICOR to come back. So,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, hell no. Like,
Yeah,
let's,
it can be. It
It's-
can be. I mean,
yeah.
you know,
but that was so long ago, right? So who knows
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
But even then I just felt like I had done one union job and then I had done one non-union job. And I was like, this shit ain't worth it.
Yeah.
Like, this is
Wow.
crazy. Like,
I mean, the fact of the matter is that being an actor is hard. We all
Yeah.
know that. And this city is full of desperate people. And it's about eliminating that desperation. I
Yeah.
know it's hard. I know it's tough to be sitting in your apartment and nothing's going on and you're just dying for that phone to ring.
Right.
Whatever you can do to sort of stymie that or
Yeah.
stifle that desperation, because as an actor who is desperate, you will be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And that is
Right.
why we are
Always.
in this position that we're in, because there are people out there who are hungry to take advantage of people who are hungry.
Right.
And it will always continue as long as people remain desperate. And surround yourself with good people and try to fill that void somehow creatively that you're filling with work that's going to hurt you in the long run.
yeah.
And open the eyes to the long term.
Yeah.
Really project yourself 10 years forward when you see, like you were talking about the percentage for the agents, but also when you see a job come over that's $500 and you're working 5 days and they can use it for 3 years.
Right.
Like,
It's
really
like, what do you need?
consider
My firstborn too? What else can I give
Yeah.
you?
if you were to divide $500 over 3 years, if you don't get another job
Right.
for next 3 years, you're
Right.
not going to be able to survive. So
Right.
really consider those things, which brings us to, with the changing world and the new media, it brings us to what just happened in June
Yeah.
or solidified in June.
Yeah, we
Can you tell
voted
us
on
the
it.
process about the new media contract and the new commercial contract?
New
that came
commercial
out?
contract. Okay, so just so you know, there's like all kinds of vernacular in the union. So when you say new media, for me, that usually means actually theatrically speaking new media.
Okay.
'Cause
Perfect.
that's its own separate issue and contract
Block.
and so forth. So like if you're doing a web series, that would be new media,
Got it.
right? Or something streaming, something like that would be new media.
Perfect.
Podcasts, new media, right? Anything like that is sort of new media when we use that term. When we talk about commercials, we're talking about commercials. Then we'll talk about stuff within commercials, digital. We'll say digital.
Okay.
We'll say internet. New media is part of that as well. But just
But that term
just,
usually
just,
references.
just so that you know, if you just
Yeah.
say new media, we're usually referencing more the theatrical stuff.
That's good to know. Thank
Yeah.
you.
But basically what happened is we went to New York for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we negotiated this contract with our bargaining partners. And I say bargaining partners in a very earnest way. I would have never, before I would have said the other side or
Right.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And now I say our bargaining partners
Yeah.
because it really felt like a collaborative effort between us and our employers to come up with a solution to a problem.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That we both face.
Yeah.
That they are facing just as much as we are.
Do you feel like they were pretty transparent in their struggle and their problems that they were facing? Did you already know them, or were there things that were brought to the table that you were like, oh wow, we didn't realize?
I would say that I'll say this. My feeling towards them has changed dramatically over the past 3 years. 3 years ago, when I talked about that level of anxiety that I had
Yeah.
to bust with my impression show,
Right.
that didn't seem to be as palpable this time around. Last
Yeah.
time, there's certain people who are very mistrusting of management, and I
Right.
understand that. There needs to be a healthy level of skepticism when they're trying to tell you something.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I think you always have to maintain that.
Yes.
On the other hand, they are your bargaining partner. These are the people that you have to come to an agreement with if you want
Right.
a contract that's going to work for everybody. And again,
Right.
remember, when you're negotiating something, it isn't all about what I can get for me. It's about what am I willing to give up to get.
Right.
Because
And-
it has to be usable.
Correct.
Right.
If nobody's going to use it, who cares what it
Yeah.
says?
Yeah. They're like, yeah, great. That's good on you that you guys want all these things. Awesome. But guess what? We're not going to.
Yeah, we're
We're
going
not gonna use
non-union.
it. Yeah, we're not going to do it.
But what I'll say is, and if you listen to the SAG AFTRA has a podcast as well, and last week they were talking about the new contract negotiation and deal, and our national executive director and our lead negotiator was talking about the lead negotiator for the JPC, the Joint Policy Commission. They're the ones that represent the advertisers that are signed or are authorizers to our contract.
okay.
And she, I thought, did a remarkable job of allowing us to work amongst ourselves to come up with the contract that we wanted.
That's awesome.
And I feel that they gave us the space to breathe. Never once did I get the sense that they were trying to intimidate. I never once got the sense that they were trying to force us into anything that we didn't want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I was actually rather impressed by the amount of patience that they showed us in our process.
Yeah.
So when you say we, like you have a group of people that go,
Yeah, so
but
there
then
are-
do you guys
there are
represent people?
Yeah, so there are members from all over the country
Okay.
that are part of the Commercial Contract Negotiating Committee, which is now, well, since we're not negotiating at the moment, called the Commercial Contract Standing Committee.
Okay.
So we're the standing committee until the next round of negotiations, but we still exist because there are things that happen between now and the next time that need to be dealt with, like interpretation issues or waivers or things that need to be granted or changed or all that sort of stuff. So we still exist and we still meet and we still as a body vote on things. But basically what happens is there's this process called the W&Ws. You'll hear people refer to that, which stands for the Wages and Working Conditions Meetings. It's a terrible name for some meetings. What does that mean? I don't know.
WW.
Can we change that,
So
please?
stupid. I just had them change Commercials 101 to Commercials Boot Camp. I'm like, nobody's coming to Commercials 101. We all to learn about their contract.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not 101. That's for a freshman. I'm a
a free-
senior.
You're like, I
It's
am
a-
like in my master's, okay?
Yeah.
It sounds like a freeway that you're going to be stuck on for a very long
And
time.
nobody wants to be on a
bad.
freeway.
So bad. But basically, they're meetings where members come to all their different locals around the country to talk about the contract and what works and what doesn't work for them, and to make proposals to put into our negotiating packet that we would then give across the table to our bargaining partners. And so Los Angeles, obviously, everything is like a weighted vote. So we have the most actors in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So we have the most people on the committee.
Got it.
Does that make sense? So there
Yeah.
are 17 members of the committee and 16 alternates.
Yeah.
17 alternates on the committee who are in charge of actually going and voting. But what we do is we take the proposals from all over the country, and every other market sends people as their sort of representatives, right, to a national meeting here in Los Angeles, which is called the plenary, where we take all of the proposals from everywhere and we whittle them down to see what works or what doesn't work or what things conflict with each other, and we come up with a packet that then our negotiators present to our bargaining partners, and that's where we start from. And then the other side brings their packet. They've got a packet of their demands, right? They have their own committee of members of their various advertising agencies who are part of their negotiating committee, who meet and come up with the things that they want as an industry, and they come with their proposal packet. So they come with theirs, we come with ours, and then we go, what can we do that will work together?
So like in the case of, so you think of like politics, right? So you have your Congress people, and then there's like the legislators, and then you have your constituents. So like, do you have, like, for the people, the committee members, and you're getting all these things, are there like actors, like if I had, like, it was like, well, this is kind of a side note, which I know this is completely a different maybe topic in the sense of commercial world, but like, let's just say I've always wondered with like Spanish market, like the pay, like how I had no idea that it was kind of different structure, because until I actually did the job and realized like, oh, there's like general market shooting the exact same thing, but like I didn't know until like somebody was talking about it in the trailer. So let's just say that I had a question. I don't even know. Maybe it doesn't even make sense to this, but do you guys hear from, I guess what I'm asking is, do you guys hear from like fellow actors to then bring up those concerns to incorporate?
Yes. Okay. So we're talking about sort of two things that are related, right? So the time to do that with relation to the contract and changes you want to see, the time to do that is during the W&Ws. Okay. That's the only time to do that.
Yeah.
Because once the proposal has gone forward, of course, that's it, right? Yeah. So you have to wait now for them to come around again, which will happen sooner than you think. But that's when you talk about, contractual changes, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But we are also part of the Commercial Performers Committee, which just deals with our sort of everyday concerns that actors have, right?
Got it.
So you could reach out to one of your committee members, or you could just call the commercial staff and say something like, hey, I didn't understand this whole Spanish language thing. Can we maybe have a Spanish language seminar about how the Spanish language payment works? Because I don't understand this, right? Or you could come to us and say, hey, I don't understand why the Spanish language stuff is different, and maybe we put out a one sheet or a video or something that helps you get that information.
Got it.
Basically, staff works for us, right?
Yeah.
So they don't know about the problems that we have in this business. The only way they know is when they hear from us.
Yeah.
Got
They have to either hear from us directly at something like a W&W where anybody who's a member can show up and speak and get to the microphone and bring their issues forward, or if you call or attend meetings, you got to show up. There are meetings, open meetings you can attend. There's a yearly membership meeting here in Los Angeles you can attend, get on the mic, talk. There are board meetings, open board meetings every month-ish that you can attend and observe, and then speak to a board member after. And then you basically, we're it. Like the eyes and ears on the ground are us. So if you don't tell somebody that you've got a problem, and talking to other actors is great, and talking to Armand and me is great, but ultimately, we're just actors too.
Yeah.
So it's like,
And the fact of the matter is the reason why one of the reasons that I got involved was, I didn't expect to start making a living making commercials. Like, I've always dreamed of being in commercials or doing TV. And when you finally do it, it's almost like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm making money. I'm making a living. I'm getting health insurance. Oh my God.
Right.
And then I started to realize I didn't really know much about my contract.
Yeah.
And I learned that if anybody's going to have a say in how I get paid, I want to have a say.
Right.
I want to
Especially if you can.
I want to have a hand in it.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. The people that show up are the ones that make the rules. The people that show up are the ones that make the decisions. And
people that show up have the votes.
Exactly.
Right.
And so I can't complain if I don't show up. I can't be upset that I'm not getting paid X or Y if I don't show up, and at least try to if I can't change what I don't like, at least I need to understand why it is the way it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I think showing up allows you to understand, for example, why do Spanish language commercials pay less than general market commercials? That's something that needs to be understood. That's something that I didn't understand. That's something that I still don't quite understand.
Right.
And I will say, just in that little specific market, that community, the Spanish language commercial community, needs to be tightened, needs to be strengthened. We are such a small, because I do Spanish language commercials too.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it, but
Right now, people are like, "What? You have light eyes?" What?
Yeah.
Me
so I
too,
get
and
it.
I don't
get it.
speak Spanish.
Yeah, but that is something that I'm also aware of and concerned about. But for those of you who are listening, who are in that community, if that is you, we need to get together because our community needs to be stronger.
Yeah, 100%.
Because 40% of nothing is nothing.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
But
Good math.
but going back to New York, I really do have the utmost respect for our bargaining partners this
Same.
time around.
Yeah.
I was really taken aback by their willingness to listen and to give us the space that we needed. There were so many great ideas brought to the negotiating room by members from all over the country, and it can get contentious at times. But because people care and because
Right.
people are so intelligent and passionate about the things that they believe in,
Of course.
to see how, I mean, still to this day, I look at the deal that we walked away with, and I'm still in shock.
Yeah.
Because I had a checklist of things that I really wanted to accomplish this time around, and I've checked every single box.
I love
Yeah, it was
that.
pretty.
I checked all mine but one, which I can't say, but
Yeah.
but I got close. I got real close.
And I definitely want to dive into those checks, and see, because I'm also excited about what you guys were able to pull together. Just for clarity, for anyone who might be asking, I know I still am a little foggy when we talk about our bargaining partners. That's
Yeah.
essentially my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it's kind of like a conglomerate of advertisers who agree to use SAG AFTRA talent.
That's basically it.
Essentially?
Essentially.
Okay.
It's either advertisers or advertising agencies.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay.
So like historically it was ad agencies that signed to our contract, but like somewhere like I think in like the 80s, like Armand wanted a seat at his contract. Advertisers were like, wait, this affects us. We want a seat at the table. So actual companies, advertisers became signatory to the contract as well.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay.
That offers some clarity, because for the longest time I was like, what is who are the people holding the keys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Essentially.
yeah. So it's who's ever a signatory to our contract. And but so just to give you an example, so let's say these are Fancy Gray Couches. This is a big company, Fancy Gray
yeah.
Couches, and they are signatory to our contract as an authorizer advertiser, and then they decide, oh, we don't want to be anymore. It doesn't necessarily mean they do non-union work, because like I said, historically the people signed were advertising agencies. So Big Fancy Gray Couches uses XYZ advertising agency that is signed to our contract.
Oh, gotcha.
So it doesn't, just so you know that there's some, just because a company isn't
Yeah.
isn't a union signatory doesn't mean they don't do union work or even
Gotcha.
exclusively union work.
Got it.
It can depend
Because-
on what ad agency they use.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. So in diving into the contract, what are you
Yeah.
guys excited about?
I mean,
All of it.
yeah,
I know, right?
I was pretty excited
here's the-
about it.
here's
We read it together, and I was
Yeah.
like,
We watched this little video.
this is good. Yeah, we
I'm
saw
like-
what
Video's
you-
great,
This
right?
Yeah,
is,
it's great.
this is great. I think
Yeah.
I sent it to like 10 of my friends.
Listen, some people are like, oh, this doesn't make sense to me. If you're confused about these numbers or these numbers seem low to you or whatever, I would encourage you to take your own earnings and run them against these models
Yeah.
and see how you're paid. And what you'll find is, for the most part, this new contract is revenue neutral. You're not going to be making less. You're not going to be making. Sometimes you make a little bit less. Sometimes you make a lot less. Sometimes no, you'll never make a lot less. Sometimes you'll make a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like one of my spots, I ran against this model, and I would have made sick money off of
Wow.
the new model if they had used it.
Yeah.
I mean, so sick.
And-
It would have almost doubled my money
wow.
because of just the way the newer upfront models work. But for those people, and you say, well, why would somebody use the upfront model? Because in some instances, it could actually be a bit of a discount. And in other instances, it's just so they don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Set it and forget it.
Yeah.
You know, and it saves, and you say, well, how does that helpful? Set it and forget it. It saves them man hours.
Right.
And man hours is money.
It costs them.
It's
to
opportunity
employ
cost.
someone,
They
yeah.
have to like fart around with all this different stuff, and what if they forget something and something gets like?
Right.
Then there's all these extra
Yes.
things that then they have to deal with on the back end.
And we've learned through this process that a lot of times that say an ad agency or an advertiser misses something and ends up owing the actor tens of thousands of dollars for a mistake they made
Yeah.
in their calculus or in their accounting. People have been fired for things like that.
Yeah.
So And that's
Oh my
one of the
gosh.
things that and that's why they're saying, like, please just make it easier for us to understand.
So we're
Make
not
it more
firing people.
predictable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Because ultimately, I think both sides, in a macro level, want more predictability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we want predictability.
Yeah.
They want predictability.
It needs to be easier. And if you're listening and you're still wrapping your head around this at all, maybe you're not an actor or you're just interested. The way that I understand their problem is what we're talking about with man hours. It's whenever a commercial runs, they're paying for it to run a certain amount of time on different platforms. So, i.e., a national network where it goes through all the big names, a smaller network where it goes to local cities, new media
Cable. There's
like
cable.
YouTube, stuff like
Cable,
that.
internet.
And so, what they have to
Streaming,
do
OTT, yeah.
is the advertising companies have to keep track of how many times they play it, where they play it, and then they have to pay additionally over time. So
Yeah,
that's something that can be complicated in
Right.
the older model.
Or sometimes it isn't necessarily how many times they play it, but what dates they play it, like the date range,
Yeah.
things like that. So that's why that larger, the upfront plus exists for people that are going to run things a whole bunch of different ways like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just going to make their lives so much easier. But then you think to yourselves, well, why don't we just use that model? Why don't we just use the upfront plus model? Because some advertisers are great advertisers, but they're not national.
Right.
They're never going to be national. They're never going to run on a national cable network because they don't exist everywhere.
Right.
Right? And yet those people can still pay us great wages and give us great jobs and contribute to our livelihoods, but they're smaller advertisers, but that doesn't mean they aren't worth the money. I mean,
Yeah.
look,
Right.
$8,000 is $8,000, you know?
Yeah.
It's-
That's half of your like tier almost.
yeah,
Like
$5,000 is $5,000.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like, and we need to have something that is workable for some of those smaller advertisers, which is why we have the upfront flex, which is for people that maybe aren't going to be the giant. You know, they're not the big national brands, the AT&Ts and Verizons and Sprints. You know, maybe they're smaller, more localized, you know, cell phone companies. So
Yeah.
we need something for them, and then there might be advertisers even more. Smaller than that, or simply advertisers who are comfortable with our contract the way it was, and so we still have it for them.
Yeah.
For those people
that's
who are
what I
like,
love.
Like,
Yeah,
like-
there's something for everybody.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, and for people, and not just for smaller advertisers, but people who may not want to run something for very long.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what the upfront
Right.
flex is there for
Yeah.
to use too. Something that I was saying as we left New York with this deal, it's like, you know, if you're somebody with a lot of money but not a lot of flexibility, we have something for you. If you are somebody who doesn't have a lot of money but needs more flexibility, we have something for you. And if you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of money and don't need a lot of flexibility, call us. Like, that's the one thing
Yeah.
that people need to
Yeah.
understand too is if you're an actor or if you're somebody who is working on a commercial and you're like, God, I don't know if I can afford to pay, you know, SAG AFTRA actors, call the union. Call the union. Call the union.
Right.
The union is far more willing to work with production than you think.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
this idea that we are rigid, that we are unflexible, which those two words probably mean the same thing.
They do. You're
It's just a
adorable.
further
Fine.
description.
But
Yeah.
what I think this new alternative payment method shows is that we are evolving.
Yeah.
That we are aware
Yeah.
of the industry, that we are trying to move the ship. And yes, it may be a slow move, but it is a move. And
Right.
you have to be careful about quick and sudden moves because you'll end up doing far more damage than you intended.
Yeah,
Totally.
And then we even have even more specialized things called the regional codes, which are like things used to be called like made in, played in. So it's like if you're Bob's Pizzeria that only exists in Chicago,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you want to run just something in Chicago,
Yes.
we've got something for you that's less expensive,
Which
that's
is
just for this
awesome.
made and played in market. Yeah,
So you don't have to go non-union
No.
because you're this little tiny, not
we-
tiny, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, we can. There is something literally for everybody. I mean, it's really astonishing, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
But if you think there isn't something for you, a lot of people they don't either understand the contract or they don't realize that we can grant waivers. So it's like,
Yeah.
hey, you know, they'll call the union. Hey, we could do this job union, but we just need a little help over an XYZ. And they can bring it to the committee and we can go, yeah, we can yeah, we can shift some stuff around and make that work. And yeah, we grant that job. And then next thing you know, 70 union actors have a job.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
This happened last
Yeah,
week.
we just
Yeah.
as a committee, we approved a special waiver for a commercial to stay in the United States, and by doing that, we gave 70 actors jobs that otherwise would not have had jobs.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's something for people to keep in mind.
And advertisers, if you're listening, we want to help you. Please
Yeah,
call.
right.
It's this.
I love
thing-
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just this old idea that we are outdated and just unwilling to be cooperative, and that couldn't be farther from the truth.
And similarly, that our staff doesn't know our problems unless we tell them. We don't know our advertisers' problems unless they tell us.
you.
Right.
Yeah, we need them to come
Totally.
to us with their problems, and we can even keep that in mind for 3 years down the road when we renegotiate. But
Yeah.
we can't know if they don't tell us.
It's
Right.
like you don't get if you don't ask. And a lot of
Yeah.
times I think it's even on that end of like the advertisers that, sometimes people just think like, well, it doesn't even occur that they can pick up the phone and say, is there something we can work out?
Right. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is awesome because,
Yeah.
that's an open door.
Well,
And-
let's face it. A lot of the advertisers or these agency folks are younger people that look at our old contract and are a little intimidated by it. And so what we wanted to do is make it as easy as possible to understand. In fact, like our new
It's one sheet.
audio contract is one sheet.
What do you mean by
That's
audio?
awesome.
So radio
Okay.
spots or
Like VO
streaming
stuff?
But not just because VO could be for a television commercial, right? So
Okay.
that's what we call off camera
Oh, got
for
it.
the commercials contract. But the audio contract used to be called the radio contract. The reason it isn't called radio anymore is because like Pandora isn't
Yes.
technically radio,
Got
right?
it.
So it's called audio now, but it's basically terrestrial radio, satellite radio, internet radio. No pictures. If it's a moving picture with it, then it's a commercial. Okay, But-
Right.
So this is audio. It's one page. It's
Wow.
one page. What do you want? When do you want it?
Where do you
That's
want
the
it?
amount.
Yeah.
So much
That's
more
it.
simple.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And just a couple of other items too that I wanted to hit on before we go too much further, but a couple of the really big wins for actors, I think, in this new contract is one, the one that I was the most excited about, the one major thing that I really wanted to accomplish in this negotiation is the MPU, the maximum period of use.
Yeah.
I always wonder what MPU meant.
That's
So,
what I s- okay.
for those, and also just a really quick public service announcement. If you don't know how to read your check or your pay stub as an actor, really learn what those words mean on your
Right.
pay stub. I know it can seem like a foreign language, but fully understanding what your stub says is so important, and it's one of Katie's major endeavors.
I mean, I will teach you for $100 an hour. I'm expensive because I don't really want to do it. So if you want to pay $100 an hour, sure, I'll come over and help you do it. But you can, for free, attend a commercials boot camp workshop at the union where they will break it down for you.
Like
What are the-
everything, like if it says lift or if it says this
what are
or
the
that.
different ways we're paid and what does that mean and how do you read your stubs? We have that.
So
That's awesome.
in our traditional contract, we have a 21-month MPU, a maximum period of use, meaning that they can run your commercial for 21 months until they have to renegotiate your contract with you if they
Yeah.
choose to run it past that 21 months. What I wanted was a shorter MPU because I would like actors to get to that renegotiation period faster.
Yeah.
So that way it ultimately gets you more money. Now, obviously, we know that commercials don't run that long. So, I mean, chances are your commercial isn't going to run that long anyway. But for those of you who do have a commercial that runs for a year and a half, this allows your agent to renegotiate faster and therefore getting you more money sooner.
And the reason
That's
it's
awesome.
running that long is because it was effective for the advertiser. So they'll get it. Like they'll understand that the value has gone up with that commercial. So-
Right.
That's happened twice in the last year for me. Like and one of them did. The MPU was longer because it was in the old contract.
Right.
And one just recently that I had done last year that it was kind of like for this year they were like, hey, they had actually like stopped paying even holding fees.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They were like done with it
Yeah.
and they brought it back.
And for
Oh, they
those-
reinstated it.
they reinstated it.
Yeah. So you can renegotiate or reinstate. Those
Yeah.
are two. If it happens within the same MPU, that's called a reinstatement because they've already released it, but then
Oh,
they bring
I
it
see.
back.
So if they
So
released it
and brought it back, so you need to look at your stubs and see if you're. So you should still be within that original MPU probably
I'll have
because
to
you were
check.
reinstated, not renegotiated. Just FYI.
I'll have
Yeah.
to check. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Get that pay stub out, baby.
Well, I gotta look it up. It's right there.
and truth be told, I have never even smelled a renegotiation, so I have no idea what that's like. But for those people that I do know that have had renegotiations, it's quite nice.
Right.
And I think it's a big win for agents too, who need that feeling of, I want to work, more for my client. I want to be able to
Right.
renegotiate.
I wanna negotiate
Yeah,
something.
let's do something.
Yeah.
So
Part of that is what brought them to the work that they do.
Yeah.
yeah,
Totally.
exactly. So I think that was a really huge win, and I think that was something that a lot of people wanted. And a point to make though is, if you do a commercial that's still under the traditional contract, the MPU still remains at 21 months. The 12-month MPU is only applied to the new alternative payment method. So whether
Perfect.
it's upfront flex or upfront plus or upfront digital, those all are held to a 12-month
12-month.
MPU.
That's great.
One of the other items that I thought, the non-crediting of session.
Non-crediting of session.
Do you want to talk about that?
Well, no, but I just wanted to, before you talk about that, I just wanted a little bullet point to
Yeah.
add on to what I was saying about renegotiations. That used to fall
right.
on our agents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our agents would have to, this is the window, you must mail out the letter to this person. And,
Oh,
and,
boy.
and the problem was, a lot of spots are never going to renegotiate.
Right.
So it's a lot of wasted man hours on behalf
and
of
how
our
many
agents.
clients do they have?
Exactly. And also they people move. So they have a hard time finding, you have to send it to the exact right person at the ad agency with the certified letter and a this, that, and the other thing. It's all of these things have to happen. And if they don't, they just get to re-up it at scale if they're going to, or isn't going to be renegotiated at all. But they would mail the letter out, and it would go out into the ether and disappear because that person had left that advertising agency and now was somewhere else. So it was all of this stuff. And I ran the caucuses for our agents. So all the agents around the country got together and talked about the things they needed in the contract. And their number one issue was renegotiation letters.
Yeah.
And for as much as so many agents do so wrong by actors, so many of them also do very right by actors. And I'm really happy that for those agents, we were able to give them the number one thing they wanted, which was now the renegotiation letters are the purview of the other side, the advertisers at
great.
the advertising agency. If they want to
That's awesome.
renegotiate, they reach out to you, which makes so much more sense.
Totally.
That does make
It's
sense. It's like they're
absolutely-
the ones having the need.
Exactly.
So they have to make, and I believe that is applied across the board.
It
on,
is. It is.
All
but
contracts,
yes,
correct?
But anything you've shot previously, no, right? So this is only going forward, but
Gotcha.
either traditional or the upfront. But going forward, anything you've shot April 1st of 2016 going on, renegotiation letters, regardless of which contract you shoot under purview of the advertising agency.
That's
April
wonderful.
1st, 2016?
April 1st,
2019. 2019. I was like, wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Session.
yeah. So a lot of times, going back to the pay stubs, when you get your first check, when your commercial first runs, oftentimes it'll show you a total amount of, let's say it runs for a cycle on cable, and it's a $3,000 payment, for example.
Right.
What it will then do is it'll say accrediting of session. It will subtract your day of work.
Yes.
And people are like, wait a minute, what the heck? This is supposed to be $3,000. Why are they subtracting $679? This doesn't make any sense to me. The old rules had it credited your session, your day of work, credited against the run.
Yeah,
So they would
so-
subtract your day of work from that $3,000 cable payment.
Even though you
for
already
example.
paid that.
Yeah.
Even though you were, yes.
Yeah.
So that they basically get that for free.
Yeah.
Now they no longer subtract that in the new
In the
alternative
upfront models.
payment model.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So now you work your day and you get your run payment all in
separate.
totem.
Period.
That's
and,
awesome.
And it makes sense for the other side because the other side has their production budget
Right.
and then they have their use budget. So it just makes sense even for them. This is what you pay for the production and this is what you pay for use.
Correct.
It's just simpler.
That's great.
So it allows the actor to take home more money to put in their pocket, to put towards their pension, to put towards their health insurance.
That's great because it all adds up.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Does.
Oh, yeah.
I make my living on little gigs adding up.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What do you think one of the biggest things that the negotiating partners wanted? What was one of their things? Was it the simpler?
Oh.
They just needed it to
Oh,
be simpler?
absolutely simpler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always simpler. We need more predictability,
Yeah.
flexibility. Editing is always going to be
Edits.
like we now are in a world of limitless places to put an advertisement.
Right.
Gosh,
Right.
yeah.
So as creative people, I always feel like it's understandable if I create something that I want to put it as many different places as I possibly can. That's going to require me to edit it in different ways, because if you're editing a YouTube commercial, it's going to be different than a gas station pump commercial.
Right.
You know
yeah.
those TV screens that you have at the gas station?
I forget about those.
You're talking about planes. You're talking about
Even the
commercials
movies.
before the movies.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All
So,
formats.
television. So there are so
The
many
formats are different. The audiences are different.
Yeah.
Instagram commercials. There are so many different places to put an ad.
It's
My
crazy.
personal feeling is I am less precious about editing.
Same.
Because ultimately I want you to hire me.
Right.
Then I want you to cut that commercial up that you hired me to do, and I want you to run it.
'Cause
And
I
I
want- yeah.
And I want you to then run it for as long as you possibly can, because that means I'm getting paid that entire time.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that traditionally we were paid, we were treating each edit as if it was a separate commercial. I understand that. I get it. At the same time, though, that is what's costing us jobs.
Yeah.
That feeling is what is what's forcing people to say, you know what, I
Yeah.
support union actors, I do, but it's just going to be so cost prohibitive for me that I can't even think about doing it, because I have to chop it
Because-
up and put it all these different places.
Wow.
I'm basically going to be paying you for 10 separate commercials, and I understand
Yeah.
how that on its face is painful for actors. I get it, but at the end of the day, is it worth losing the job over?
No.
Because it's still going to run. You're
Right.
still going to get paid, but you're not going to make like insane money.
If it's usable, they will use it.
And that to me is kind of the tweaks that you got to make looking into the future. It's like it would be great if everyone had the budget to pay for 10 different commercials for one job. That'd be cool.
That'd be great. But that's
not
not
realistic.
the platforms that existed
It's not
12 years
realistic,
ago.
right? Exactly.
Like,
I think that's future thinking.
Yeah, and I
think
mean,
that's-
addressable. We have part of we have addressable edits actually even in our contract now. Addressable advertising is new, but it people talk about it being the future, but it actually
What
already
is that,
exists now.
addressable?
So, for example, let's say you and I are both cable subscribers here in Los Angeles.
Right.
Let's say we both have Spectrum cable, and you're watching HGTV at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm watching HGTV at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We see different commercials.
Oh, no way.
They can go box to box. They can go ISP address to ISP address. They can,
Wow.
it's like targeted advertising. Think about when you scroll through Instagram,
Yeah.
the ads you see are different than the ads you're going to see.
Or when you're having a conversation with your friend and then all of
And
a
the
sudden
next
there's
thing
a
you know,
bra on
it's
your
like
Facebook.
mattresses.
I was like, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's targeted advertising.
Wow.
And and they need to be able to make little adjustments for each of these little things.
Yeah.
But they can't afford to run 20 different commercials. It would be cost prohibitive. And people say, well, they're not doing it now. Yes, they're not doing it now because they can't afford
It's
to
too
do
much.
it with us. So we made a way for them to be able to afford to do it with us.
Yeah. The fact
Wow.
that we included the language addressable to me is so key, because
Yeah.
it's language that they understand, that they need help with.
Yeah.
And for us to be willing to say things like that out loud, to put it in print, to
Yeah.
codify that, I think is so incredible.
Well, it's almost like they
acknowledge
had
the
a problem
elephant.
and you helped solve that problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What we're saying is we hear you. You know, there's a lot of things that we've done over the past 3 years, in my opinion, to address needs of, like, say, casting directors and agents, and now like producers or creatives. And when we get the reaction from them, when we do sort of address an issue that they would traditionally think we would never even come near, to see and hear the reactions is really
Yeah.
quite remarkable.
It
And
is.
you're like, wow, it to me, it makes me feel good to be a part of this now. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
we are at this fulcrum, this change in not only the industry, but in the union and actors, and how we're trying to become better partners with each other. We can bury our head in the sand, or we can be willing partners to figure
Yeah.
out, you know, our national executive director would say this, and he's like, instead of saying no, how can we figure out a way to yes? And I think that's
Yeah.
an important point. How can we get to yes? Like, we don't want to say yes right away,
Right.
but how can we figure out to be the best cooperative partners in
Yeah.
a negotiation? And it's things like the addressable advertising elements that I think that we do that.
Yeah.
That's
agreed.
awesome. I think for me, the peel back of all of this is it really has to be something that works for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it works for everyone. and then everyone's happier,
and everyone works.
and then everyone works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
As one of our friends on the committee with us says, they have to use it to abuse it.
Correct.
Right? They don't have anything to.
Because listen, we can sit
They're going
around.
to take advantage of us.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Please.
But and then
we'll fix it.
Right, and then we'll fix it. We'll
Yes.
file a claim, and that's something else that people need to realize is if you encounter a problem, if you encounter an issue, whether it's payment, whether it's something on production, whether it's anything,
Treatment, yeah.
file a claim.
Yeah, call the union.
The union is there to protect you. The union is there to fight for you. They are your advocates. That is what your dues are for, is to pay the lawyers to go after these people.
Wow.
We have a 24-hour sexual harassment hotline that you can call anytime. If something is going wrong, the union is there for you, whether it's you're physically in danger, mentally in danger, or missing money. The union can help you, but not if they don't know it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of like this thing that you have that like nobody knows exists. That's like that lifeline or whatever.
Yeah.
That's like
I
use
found out
it.
I had a Thrival job, and I just found out that I had a 401k in it, and I had no idea.
Wow.
And because I didn't sign up, but it's like that. It's like to realize suddenly, oh my gosh, there's so much more to this thing, this building.
Yeah.
And that building is just to house the people.
Yeah.
That's right.
ultimately.
Going back to my original point about Katie Von Till, and that is she digs deep on everything. Nothing slips by her. Like, it's scary.
Is that true, Katie?
Yeah.
I mean,
She's like, it's a
True
burden.
that.
She is so thorough. And much like I was saying with my friends from college who taught me how to be a professional actor, she has sort of elevated that idea. Because like
gonna make me cry.
Well, no, but like this podcast,
Me too.
is, it's not just the show. It's not just the show, but it's also the business.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
And as actors, as
Yes.
humans, you need to really understand what your rights are, what
Yeah.
you're signing up to do, everything that involves you personally. You have got to be your number one advocate, and
And it's a way to manage your business.
Yeah. People are making money off of us.
Right.
We deserve a cut.
Totally.
It's that simple.
Yeah,
It's like Prince. I wasn't a huge Prince fan, but Prince believed that artists deserve to be paid.
Totally.
Yeah.
We do. People make money off of us.
There's
Our
so-
likeness, our image, our voices,
our performances.
all of it.
There's something in the ether where, as a performer, there's like this weird, like personal journey everyone has to go through to kind of recognizing the worth of what they bring to the table. And I think maybe it's from years of not working. Maybe it's from years of always feeling like you're on the outside
And then
looking
you have
in.
these people, I think, that are just like, it's just art and I'm just going to do it. I'm like, fool, you got to eat. Like, come
Yeah.
on. Like, what are you even talking about right now?
If it's
Totally.
just art and you just need to do it, then go live somewhere else.
Totally.
And
exactly.
do it.
Go
Yeah.
do some community theater and
Yeah,
or
wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's just you just need to do art, go do art.
right.
Because for the thing is that I was so, as I started realizing what was happening when all this new media, like just like when we talk about like the Hulus and the all the stuff that you're seeing now, these apps on
Yeah,
TV.
Yeah, we call
Yeah.
that OTT, which means
OTT?
over the top.
over the
Over the
top.
top,
So
OTT.
all this stuff, I was like, man, like there's gonna have to be a shift in order for the working class actor to be able to make a living
Yeah.
and be able to live in Los Angeles.
And that's
Right.
another thing in our contract is we actually did name OTT. So OTT is now named in our contract saying, hey, we recognize this is its own thing. And at some point, we may treat it as such, but we're naming it.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
naming it. It's a thing. It's
Yeah.
not the same as the internet. It
Yeah.
is something else.
Yeah.
And
I
we
love
are
that.
naming it.
Because it's so now the category is internet and OTT, or internet plus OTT. Like, we haven't set aside rates for OTT on its own, but what we did was that we at least carved it out.
Made space for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're
For
going to
future
right, because
negotiations.
right now it's a little fresh, it's a little young. We don't, because again, you don't want to go in too low and you don't want to go in too high.
Yeah.
Right.
So what we're going to try to do is figure out in a couple of years where we end up, what the industry kind of looks
and the other
like.
thing that's crazy about it is like you may be watching OTT, you may be watching Hulu or something, and there are so many different ways the commercial you are watching could have gotten there.
Right.
So it isn't actually necessarily that it originated on the OTT platform. You may be watching OTT, but it actually might be a Class A airing that you're watching.
Right.
Weird.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So,
like they,
yeah.
like
There's
they
all these
published
So
technical-
it.
you've already been paid for it with that Class A airing because it came over in that pod with that
Right.
thing. Does that make sense?
Totally.
With that
like,
program.
Whatever program they
Yeah, but yet also then there's local spots, and that like every commercial break has some things carved out for local spots, but also depending on whatever has delivered that to you, whether it's Sony View or Roku or Apple TV, they can also bring you spots, right? There are all different ways a spot can end up
That's so crazy.
in the program you're watching.
And I will say that I just was fortunate enough to discover that one of my friends, this guy that I worked in a restaurant about 10 years ago, and I met this couple, and we just became friends because I talk a lot to people that I would work with.
No.
And so funny enough, they moved away to Chicago. I haven't really spoken to them a whole lot lately, but he recently posted a thing on Instagram showing him, he was drawing on a whiteboard the ecosystem of internet advertising and how it all works. And I was like, oh, wow, that's weird. That looks like one of the slides that we've been shown in one of our meetings. And I messaged him, I go, dude, what do you do? Because this thing that you're drawing
This is familiar. I
understand this,
is a
yeah.
slide that we've been shown in every like W&W meeting, in our CPC meeting, in our contracts meeting. And he goes, oh, well, I go, what do you know about internet advertising? He goes, oh, well, I've just spent like the past 2 decades building internet advertising.
Are you kidding me?
So I'm like,
Wow.
I go, what?
We need to talk.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
emailed him, and we had a phone conversation this morning, and he's was super great, and he was talking about a lot of stuff that just blew my mind, and I was like, yep, I know what this is, and yep, I know what this is, and I was asking him questions. So all this saying, all this,
OTT,
is
how do
that-
spots get to you?
yeah, all of this I'm bringing up to say that I want to bring him in and talk to the committees and sort of explain how the whole like sausage gets made, because
Yeah.
I think
Love that.
I think there's a lot of, again, anxiety that we feel as actors of like, we're so grossly underpaid on the internet, like we should be making millions of dollars.
But I think it's so hard to keep track of some of
Well,
it.
it is hard to keep track. But after I was talking to him today, he basically said there is a reason why. It isn't just it isn't just because they're just trying to screw us. That's not it. There are reasons why. And so what I want to do is to
Let's
bring
go
in
learn that.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So he sent
Yes,
me a really
bring it back.
So he has a video that he produced explaining the whole world and how it exists.
Oh, that's
And I'll
awesome.
send it to you, Katie.
Okay, great.
And I can just send it to you guys.
I was
too,
about to say,
guys.
Yeah, that'd be kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Because
Yeah,
I think
learning.
I think it's something that we all should know. But it's going to be something that I
Fascinating.
think will be of value as we take these next 3 years to understand where this crazy field is going to go. But I'm really excited about sort of learning more about that and applying it to what we do.
I love
See,
that.
Armand is good about going out into the world and asking people how they can help us. I'm good at bossing people around. So that's why
It's a great
that's why
combo.
he and I
Good
work well
team.
together. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's good at the stuff I'm not good at.
Yeah, I'm the soft sell. She's the hard sell. I guess.
love
Or no,
that.
I bring him
That's
in.
awesome. Good
I bring him in.
That's
I bring
right.
him in, and she
Reel him
knocks him
in.
down. It's great.
That's right.
I love that, and I think that's such an important thing, even for personal growth. Is if you recognize something that you're scared about, the best thing that you can do is go to learn.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah.
And then after you learn, then you can have
Yeah.
a smart approach to what that future, whatever it is, looks like.
When I showed up at the union angry and first
Yeah.
got involved, I sat there quietly,
Yeah.
just to learn, just to listen, and I learned so much.
love
It's like
that.
some people think, well, I don't have anything to say, I don't have anything to bring to the table.
Yet.
Just come and listen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
just
come
come
and
listen
listen.
and learn.
And in many ways, it's almost better.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's best not to speak. you
Yeah,
know?
because no one wants to be like, has anyone tried flipping the switch? And everyone's like, yes.
Yeah.
We have all tried
Oh
flipping
my
the
God.
switch.
You
Yeah.
just made my night. That is it. 100%.
How come I didn't get paid for this?
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah. Oh, I could.
But
if
listen,
I had
it's
$1.
understandable, and,
Yeah.
and I don't and don't feel like, well, I can't say that. No,
Yeah.
fucking
Just
say it. Like,
we
Just say it with humility. Don't be mad at the
Yeah.
other committees, maybe.
well,
yeah.
Or be mad.
Be mad if you got, like
Sure.
Armand and I run the our committee runs the monthly AdsGo union meetings, and I usually chair them because I'm the chair of that committee. But sometimes Armand will chair them, and sometimes some of our other committee members. And I'll say to people that come, yes, come to this meeting and bitch at me. I will take it, even though I'm not staff or whatever, and the staff sitting next
Yeah.
to me. Come, say all the things you hate, bitch and moan. Do it here in this room, because don't do it online.
I was just
I
going to
love
say that.
that.
Because union bashing is union busting. And you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting our union, you're hurting all unions. Cut it out.
Yeah.
I was just
love
going to say that. It's like the people that are real brave on social media. And it's like, get your ass to a meeting
Yeah.
and say what you have to say.
Yeah.
Or inquire or whatever.
Yeah, and maybe you're right, and it's good to be mad, because I'm
Yeah.
still mad.
There's
I
righteous anger.
I had,
Yeah,
I, had
totally.
I had an angry email exchange with staff last week. It just happened. I was like, I'm ranting, and I told them that, and they're like, okay, Katie, let's schedule a phone meeting.
Yeah.
But you know, it's important to get it out, but get it out in our house.
I love
Keep
that.
our argument in our house. Don't do it online. Please, 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 please. Every second Monday of the month, we've got the Ads Go Union meetings. Any member can show up to those. Occasionally, we also have those open where pre-members or FICOR actors could show up. Just check the schedule on the website to see if it happens to be an open meeting. Otherwise, it's any paid-up member can show up and talk about commercial stuff. And those types of town halls happen periodically with all kinds of areas of our
Open your
contracts.
emails.
God, open your
Mark them.
email.
And read them.
If you no, because
Please.
honestly, I will say this: the union has made great strides in its communication with its members, and starting with the app. If you don't have the SAG AFTRA
it's
app,
so good.
download the app.
Awesome.
Because it is so. They have done an incredible job of building this thing, and it is so easy to use, and it is so helpful, and it has basically everything you need to know on the app. That being said, also open emails that you get from the union. There's a lot of great information in there.
Yeah.
That's great.
How can you know what's going on if you don't read those? And I understand that you're like, oh, fuck it. But just take a second, read
That's
through
like-
it.
Right.
Somebody said, "Oh, where have you been?" "Oh, I went to negotiate the contract in New York." "Oh,
We're doing that?
I thought. Wait a second. You went and did that. Wait, I always just sort of thought, I didn't realize people did that. I kind of thought magical little elves did that.
Right.
Never even occurred to me. And I was like, do you open your email?
Right.
Do you read
Do you read 'em?
anything from the union? I was so ticked off. And by the way, that was in front of a casting director who was coming up to me and saying, "Oh, so glad things went so well, blah, blah, blah."
yeah.
And then this actor, right, goes, "I don't know what you guys are talking about." And I was like, you know what? Like, you suck. Sorry. No offense. But at the same time, like I said before, if he didn't know,
Yeah.
how's he going to know? But he should be reading his email
Right.
because
Totally.
that is on you.
Yeah, because like you were talking about the online stuff, the thing that really bothers me is, like the union can't do this and you won't do this and fuck that. And, there's a lot of reasons for people to be angry, but not knowing is such a dumb excuse
Yeah.
to be angry.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
also like misinformation of like it's a misplaced anger in
Yeah,
a way
totally.
because it's coming from a lack of misinformation or lack of information.
Right.
Yeah, because of how active I am, I get texts all day, every day from actor friends saying like, "I heard this, I heard that." No.
Right.
It gets a little frustrating with some of them where I'm like, please show up to something
Right.
ever.
Yeah. Right.
Please don't use me as your personal Google.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I'm exhausted.
Right.
I took
Yeah.
my turn. I'm taking my turn.
Right.
But Armand and I can't do this alone.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that, which is another like thing that we can like, how does one get involved? Like
Yeah.
if that's to be more active, to
Yeah.
be more
Yeah.
involved.
I would say start showing up to stuff just so that you can start to meet other people who
Yeah.
are active, right? And
Yeah.
then Armand and I both run in elected positions. So we have an election actually coming up. I'm running for re-election as a delegate and as a Los Angeles local board member. What are you running for?
I'm running for re-election as a delegate and to be elected as a local board member. I ran last time and I only lost by like a handful of votes.
Please vote.
Vote.
So
vote.
if
Please
people
vote.
listen, I'll give a shameless plug and be like, "Yo,
This
I would,
what-
I would really appreciate it if you were a Los Angeles actor, paid up SAG AFTRA member. I would really appreciate your vote."
What else? Look, you want to vote for Armand because he shows up. He
Yeah.
shows up. He's committed. He's smart. He's willing to learn. He's
Yeah.
willing to go out and find the
Yes.
information
Yeah.
he doesn't know. Don't vote for somebody just because you saw them on a TV show.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
No.
Vote for the people that show up.
Because let me tell you something. You know how they say never meet your idols? Oftentimes in this union, it's true,
yeah.
sadly. And I think the worst reason to vote for anybody based on their level of fame is a horrible, horrible reason. That being said, if you do show up to local board meetings, and you can do that as a
can.
member, they have open board meetings. Do that, and you can see for yourself.
But also,
what-
it's like
who's
not to
involved
say.
and-
I would imagine that once you get, like, I was listening to like the podcast that you were doing, and I do think of like sometimes when you're working and you're not. It's almost like I think like sometimes actors can get to a point where they don't know what's going on with the union stuff because
Yeah.
either not that they don't care, but their rates are so high above what scale is for anything, right? So like they're getting paid so
You mean
much.
like celebrities?
Yeah, like celebrities, or even like people that are kind of celebrities, but are like getting like 250,000 for a film. That's like, you know, I would
You'd be
imagine.
surprised. Some of those people are in the board.
Yeah.
And
That's
showing
awesome.
up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Patrick
great.
Fabian is on the board. He's
Yeah.
on a lead on Better Call Saul, and he's in the boardroom.
That's so great.
You know what I mean? There are those people who are that high up, that are celebrities, that are Gabrielle Carteris, obviously,
Yeah.
who are working. She's shooting right now. Beverly Hills 90210, right?
That's
the remake.
awesome.
So wild.
Who do show up to stuff, and we run with the Unite for Strength slate.
Yeah.
I would encourage you that look. I run with that slate because I believe that they are a very committed population of members. I am in rooms with these people. I'm on committees with these people, and they show up and they participate, and they are on the picket line with me when that happens, and participating in strike actions, and they're doing things when it isn't just about their category. They're showing up when it has to do with the other categories. They show up, and for the most part, willing to learn, willing to listen, and
Yeah.
willing to be forward thinking.
I think they're thoughtful. I think they're nuanced.
Yeah.
They're diverse. Like our group is a
Oh,
very
diverse,
diverse group.
yeah.
of
What's the
actors.
difference between like? So what did you mean? What did you mean by slate? Like, is there two
Because
separate?
there's like two political parties in our union, basically, and
Which we both acknowledge
Yeah,
is dumb.
it's
Like
dumb.
we hate the fact that there are
And-
groups.
and there are
factions.
people on the other slate who 100% will always have my vote. I will vote for them. I will vote to put them in office because I think they're smart. I think they show up.
Yeah.
I think they know things I don't know.
Yes.
And I want them in the room with me. Sometimes they might be people that I disagree with regularly, but
Yeah.
I know that it's important for me to have that person in the room because they're going to bring a perspective that I don't have.
Right. Yeah.
And I vote for those people. There are people on the other slate. I 100% will get my vote.
Yeah.
That being said, I respect everybody on our slate. I think we're very strong, and we have young people, old people, brown people, white people, all the colors
Men,
of the
women.
people, men, women, people with disabilities. We've got everybody.
That's great.
And there was another point that I wanted to make really quick before I forget, and that is the one thing that I've been so impressed by over the past couple of years with my union service is the amount of intelligent, fierce women that lead not only these
Yes.
committees but our union.
Oh,
I am
sorry.
no. Let me because I
Yeah.
have to I have
Do
to
it.
compliment you with some more.
No, stop.
But I am continuously blown away by the ability of the women who lead these committees. Like Katie is the chair of the LA W&W. She's the LA chair of our negotiations. And I think Katie's one of the most brilliant people I've ever been around. I think Gabrielle is brilliant. I think Katie Wallach is another brilliant person. Lori Hendler.
Brilliant. Both those women.
We are
Brilliant.
we are led by some really incredible women, and I am so proud to be working alongside them day to day because
yeah.
I am never the smartest person in the room when I'm with them, and it's just always inspiring.
That's awesome.
That 12-month MPU started with him. So he brings great things to the room. Don't be fooled. And I saw Cameron Manheim, who's running for Secretary Treasurer. I saw her speak over the weekend, and I was impressed. She's been active in the union. I didn't realize sort of behind the scenes giving support. She hadn't held office before, but she actually has been participatory. And also her son is a member. So she's not just thinking about herself. She's thinking about her son and the future of our union. Not just what can this do for me? What can this do for me now? What can this business do for us now?
Yeah.
But my kid's coming up in this. So I got to think about down the road. And she's just a badass. So she's got my vote. I'm really excited to vote for her.
I love it. And when do elections happen?
Ballots come out end of this
August?
month. No,
Oh, no,
end of this
July.
month.
Sorry,
End
sorry.
of this
July.
month, ballots will come out, and they'll be due end of August.
August, got it.
Yeah.
But to go back to your point, just to like further like crystallize how somebody gets involved. Like Katie said, come to an AdsGo union meeting.
Yeah.
Come to an open board meeting. Come to a screening. Come
Yeah.
to whatever.
Just start showing up so people know who you are, and then
but talk to people.
you talk to people. In October, the committees get sat. And you can, if you read your email, you'll get an email that will say, hey, if you want to sign up to be in a committee, sign up to be on a committee. And you can sign up. Granted, it's hard to get on a committee if nobody knows who you are.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people want to be on committees. And of course, we want to pick the people on the committees who we know show up.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if you're not showing up, I don't know that you may have great things to say. You may be a fantastic value, but also I only, as the national chair of the CPC, I only have so much time where I can Google people.
You're like,
Right.
let your light shine.
Right.
So, you need to start showing up so I know who you are. And say to, last time I had people come up to me like giving me pitches and I was like, yeah, you should be on this. Yeah, let's sit down and talk about it. Yeah, you would be great. They approached me. They let me know why they'd be a valuable member. And then when it was time to seat the committee and I was putting forward for new members, I was able to give a pitch for each person. Granted, I didn't get everybody I wanted on the committee because committees they're finite. Like you can't
Right.
have 50 million people on a committee.
Of course.
You get whatever the Constitution is how many you get.
Right.
So it's tough, but just start showing up.
Yeah, and make your presence known. Like let people know who you are. Bring your friends. Talk to friends that you may know who are involved already. Like what Katie was saying about not wanting to do this forever. I don't want to do this forever. There's a lot of people who've been doing this a long time. I'm not one of those
Me
people that want
either.
to do this for a long time.
No.
What I want to do is do my time.
Yeah.
But also
Pass the baton.
Pass the baton, but
Yes.
bring in people to teach them what I've learned, and then hand it off to them. Because I think our strength is in our diversity. I think our strength is in our collective collection of different ideas.
Yeah.
And if it's the same people over and over again offering the same ideas, we're never going to grow. We're never going to progress. We're never going to get stronger. We're going to stay the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to bring new voices and faces and ideas into the room.
And young voices
Yes.
because they grew up in a different time than us.
Exactly.
They understand things differently than we do. Like,
Oh my gosh.
you know,
yes.
people that have grown up with cell phones their whole lives. I don't know what that's like, and they may
Right.
know more about certain technology than I do. I don't know what
Exactly.
Twitch is. I don't play games.
And if you're a Spanish speaker too, we need you. Like we
Yes.
need more.
Yeah.
I'm constantly trying to get my Spanish speaking friends more involved because we need you on the CPC. We need you in the Commercials Performers Committee because you are such a huge part of the industry. And it's also an area that has a lot of non-union work.
Yeah.
And we need
Yeah.
to solidify that.
Absolutely.
And I hope that people who are out there that fit that description will have the urge to serve. And it's not a huge time commitment. That's the thing.
Well, it depends.
Well, for you.
For me, it's a lot.
Katie, you do a lot of work. You
Yeah.
offer up a lot of your time. You sacrifice a lot of your time. But for those people who are like, oh God, it's so much time. I don't have time for this.
Delegate is one weekend.
Yeah. If it starting as a delegate, just start there. Come to convention, meet people from all over the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talk to folks.
Most committees meet once a quarter.
Exactly.
Wow. It's like you can't complain. Well, I don't feel like you can, but I guess people can technically if you're not involved or you're not even trying to make a difference, like
Yeah.
yourself, because it's easy to just look at people
And people love to say they don't have time. Okay,
Right.
and true, most people don't have time for what I do, or he's downplaying himself, or for what Armand does. Granted, for me, it's basically a part-time job. Sometimes it's a full-time job, even though I'm not paid because it's all volunteer. But there are things that you can do that are get involved that don't require, like people are like, oh, I have kids. Dude, we had someone on the negotiating committee with a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people make it work. Like
Yeah.
if you make it a priority in your
Yeah.
life, you can do it.
that's
And
like with anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
You can make time
Yeah.
for something that you really care about.
Totally.
But ultimately, like it's really like if you just want to start off and just do like the most basic participation, it's not a huge commitment.
Nah.
Even if it just means like coming in phone banking for
Yeah,
an ASCO
phone banking,
union thing.
yeah.
So like if we have like a strike action or if we're trying to gather a group of people, like well, phone bank, just come in phone bank.
yeah, it's like
a
just
really
get
minimal-
involved in
Yeah.
any way you can.
Or even if it isn't, I can't get involved per se because I don't have the time. But maybe I can give a few hours here and there.
Yeah.
And that's what like the phone banking is. Or Move is our volunteer arm of SAG AFTRA, where it's like, okay, I can't come to this, but hey, there's a grocery workers strike and SAG AFTRA is going. I can go sit on that
Yes.
picket line with those people. Like
Yes.
there are other things where you can give.
Wow,
or
that's awesome.
You can participate in like food banks and sorting food. There are all kinds of things where you can give back through the union channel.
Yeah, like Labor Day parades or veterans parades, we participate in those, or like Pride parades, we participate
Yep,
in those,
yep.
and that's headed up, I think, a lot by Move. And it's exactly right. It's things like that you can start to get involved.
That's
I
awesome.
love that. And then that's where you can get bit. And then eventually
And then
one day.
they drag you in,
Yeah.
and suddenly you're doing way more than you ever expected to be doing. And it's hard. And people also get mad at you. Somebody said to me once, "Oh, do you want to be president of SAG AFTRA?" And I was like, "Only if I could do it in hiding." Like,
Right.
if nobody knew I were the president, so nobody
yes.
could
No one
like
had my
attack
number.
me. Yeah, then I would do it.
Anonymous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, dip your toe in one weekend.
Yeah.
1 week and get started. And of course, with all of our guests, this has been so enlightening.
So helpful.
I'm sorry we
Good.
talked your ears off.
No,
we literally were so pumped that we could make this happen before our move.
I think
Okay.
we, like a lot of fellow actors, I'm sure you guys have also heard, are just tired of having no knowledge
Yeah.
of what's actually happening
Yeah.
and feeling like I couldn't explain it to you if I tried. And I think stuff like this is really important for people, and obviously opening their emails and going and showing up once or twice.
That's my number one ask. Open and read your emails.
Open your emails.
Please, if you do nothing else.
If you do nothing else.
Yeah.
And if we do nothing else, we always ask all of our guests just a handful of questions.
They're just little fun ones.
All
Just
right.
fun little
So
questions.
So I'll start with Armand this time
Okay.
since Katie opened. Okay, they're just we just do this. It's just to kind of get to know you a little
I
bit
knew
more.
I should have listened to your podcast. I saw like a little bit of a snippet. I was like, oh, they are on camera. Oh, I better put some makeup on.
I know it's literally it's like my got to figure it out every day. All right, number one,
Okay.
if you could be any animal in the world, what would you be?
Oh, okay. It's easy. A lion.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you see?
Oh, yeah.
Hey-o.
Well, I got to say, I'm a Leo. I was born in August. So like
August
I'm
what?
always- August 14th.
Oh no way! That's awesome.
So my mom is a Leo. My dad is a Leo. I'm a Leo. So I just feel like if I was ever an animal, it'd be a lion.
That's awesome.
Love that.
If there was only one food you can eat for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Pizza.
Yeah.
Yes, good choice.
Celebrity crush.
Oh, well, right now, just because the Women's World Cup just ended, I would say it's Alex Morgan. I love Alex Morgan.
I love
Any
that.
superhero or slash superpower
What would
that
it
you can
be?
have, what would
Oh,
it be?
man. Well, superhero, Superman. Superman was the
Yeah.
shit. I mean, that was the Christopher Reeve. Was,
Oh, yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
movie. I can't even tell you how much he meant to me, how much that character means to me. I love Superman.
Awesome.
So if I had to pick a superpower, it would probably be to fly.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaks to me.
Last one is what was the last one? Oh, if you weren't doing acting or being in the entertainment industry, what else would you be doing that
I'd
you're
be a
passionate?
teacher. I would
Teacher?
be. I would be a teacher.
What kind of teacher? Flight?
That's a good. That's good. Yeah, that's good. No, I would probably be a history teacher. I love
Oh, yeah.
history. It's that old adage, like, you know, if you don't learn your history, you're doomed to
You're
repeat it. There's
yeah.
so much.
Right.
There's so much, especially now with everything that's going on. Like, we have so many lessons to take away from our past, and if we just took a second to look back and see where we came from, I think it would be helpful to us all. So I would definitely be a history teacher. And I also had. One of the most influential teachers I ever had was my freshman year civics teacher, and he was the one that drilled into me, get involved.
Oh,
That's awesome.
Whatever
awesome.
it is, like, get involved.
that's great.
Yeah.
Don't be somebody looking on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Don't be a hater.
Yeah.
No.
For no reason.
That's right.
So Katie, it's your turn now. I feel like this is like those auditions,
The ones where,
the
like,
personality
interview
slates
ones.
Oh, yeah, the
that I
personality-
hate like, all day, every day.
Yeah.
I just thought of that right now because anyway.
Okay.
So first one, if you could be any animal, which animal would you be?
I would be my cat.
Yeah.
Because my cat has the best life. You know what I'm saying? Like, my cat has it good. All the belly scratches, head rubs is like a personal masseuse, a personal chef.
You're like, what else do you need?
Yeah, like my cat. If I could be, if reincarnation were a thing, that's
What's your
what I-
cat's
That's
name?
your pick.
Well, I have two cats right now. I have Benmont and Sisyphus. I'm
Wait,
a
what?
strange lady. Well, Benmont, because Tom Petty had died, and we thought, well, we'll name our cat Tomcat Petty. But then our cat is not a front man. So he's Benmont, which is the keyboard player.
Oh, that's awesome.
Heartbreakers. Yeah. He's not that. He's like a. Well, I also learned the difference between men and women, really, by having a female cat and a male cat at the same time. I was like, oh, we are different.
So
Crazy, right?
different.
You don't want to hear my thoughts on that.
I'm so curious.
That's another episode.
But my cats have the best life.
We'll
But
do an
particularly-
all-cat episode.
Particularly Benmont, who just like snuggles, eats, watches TV, birds, and personal
else?
like that's it. Like that's life. Yeah, I'm in.
That's awesome.
My
I
cat.
get jealous of my son, how much he sleeps.
Yeah, right.
I know. 7 o'clock to 7 a.m. Great.
Girl.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
great though.
Yeah,
know.
he's
That's
awesome.
amazing.
He's impressive.
He's awesome. Anyway, okay. Number 2, if you
Yeah.
can eat only one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I'm gonna go with cookies.
What kind of cookies though? Any kind? All cookies?
Okay, no. the slice and bake Pillsbury cookies.
I know what you're talking
The
about.
one with the canned pops.
No, not that. The
Not
one
that
that's
one?
just a tube.
With the yellow tube?
No, it's just no. That's
That's
Toll
Nestle.
House. I'm
That's
not.
right.
No, I'm Pillsbury, and I prefer the slice and bake as opposed to the ones that are already sliced for you because they're the wrong. They're the wrong.
Not the right size.
They're not the right size. So I like the slice and bake Pillsbury cookies. They need to be hot though, fresh from the oven. I don't let my cookies cool. I eat them immediately.
Nice and warm.
And my unintentional hashtag for my life is need cookie. It just started years ago and it's taken over my life. So yes, need cookie.
Yes. Number 3, celebrity crush.
I have 2 of them.
Ooh.
Zachary Levi.
Yes.
He loves
He's
Zachary
great.
Levi.
I did a benefit concert with him.
Oh my
And I was like,
gosh.
oh, I came home to my then husband and was like, I'm really sorry, but I'm in love with him and I'm going to have to leave you for him. And
That's
then,
what did it.
And then,
Just kidding.
and then I introduced my husband to him and he goes, oh, I get it. I love him too. I love him too.
I understand.
Yeah, Zachary Levi is number 1. And then Joey McIntyre from New Kids on the Block.
I was Jordanite.
Oh, I'm a Joey girl.
yeah. I can see those baby blue eyes.
Yeah,
though.
yeah, 100%,
I get it. I get it.
love it.
Superpower or superhero?
I don't really love superhero, like I'm over the superhero movies thing, but I get it. I mean, I like the stories or whatever. I'd love to see somebody really bend that genre in a really interesting way, and I think that's coming down the pike. But I would say I'd like to be like Cheer Bear from Care Bears. Like I would just like everybody to be happy if I could just like
I'll take
beam
that.
some
Beam
happiness
cheer.
at
Some
everybody.
rainbows at everybody?
Yeah, like that's what I'd like to do.
love that.
Awesome. And if you were not in the entertainment industry at all, what would you be doing?
That's really hard for me. I would be running the world.
Right?
Hey, I would vote for you.
Wait, hold on a second. I like how you're like, that's really hard for me. I'd be running the
Actually,
Yeah, pretty much.
I'd be running
All of
this.
it.
Yeah.
The world, not just the United
No,
States.
the world. Yeah.
It'd be the first United Nations that's actually United
That's
Nations.
right, that's right.
and
Go
One
for it.
world order. And
Yeah. But democratic for everybody, and everybody has money and food and happiness because I'm Cheer Bear. But yeah,
Hello.
a girlfriend of mine, she saw this tank top that said "I run everything," and she's like, "You need this," and I was like, "Yes, I do."
Actually,
love
I'm
that.
ordering it now.
And the
And I did.
world, the world could be your cats.
Yeah.
You can give that. That's awesome.
Not creepy at all.
No. Actually, truth be told, I'd probably be a lawyer or a teacher.
Yeah.
I love
But,
that.
yeah.
And as we kind of wrap up, the thing that I love to end on is like a bonus question. It's for both of you. It's what kind of advice would you give yourself when you first started, or someone else who's listening who's like, I want to be an actor? What would be the best advice you give them?
These are 2 things about, first, a piece of life advice. Slut it up.
I love it. Slut it up, you guys.
Slut
Did
it
you
up,
hear that?
guys. Slut it up. Like, go get yourself some while you're young and your body's great and you feel good and everything still works.
And you're rested.
Be safe.
Yeah, be safe. Yes, 100% be safe. But get out there, enjoy your body, enjoy other people, and have a good time. And for career stuff, I would simply say, don't wait.
It's
Just
good.
do it.
Just start. You're never going to be ready. It's never going to be right. You're never going to know all the things you need to do. Don't wait, because you're going to wake up tomorrow and be 40, which is what happened to me.
Well, and also I would say that like one of the things that this is just like an aside, is like living, but also not waiting to live your life
Yeah.
as you're
Yeah.
doing
It goes
this.
with the slut it up,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Hey, even if you're slutting it up in your 50s. No,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
sure,
really,
sure.
because if you think about it, it's like I know so many people that are older now that waited to do like life
Yes.
stuff because they were waiting for their career to be where they wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's still not where they wanted to be, but now they feel like I'm too old for this or I'm too
Yeah.
old for that. So in a way, I think it's like live your life for sure. And also like just do your work, like do
Jump
do
in.
it. Just jump in,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
I'm actually.
texting.
I'm,
Who's he
no,
texting?
I'm actually.
Armand.
John Patrick Shanley actually wrote this really great foreword in the Big Funk play that he wrote, and I wanted to. Now I just reminded it. I read it. A girlfriend of mine in college who really kicked my ass and told me to fucking buck up and do my shit and be a better person.
Should you to get your shit together.
Gave me this card with this foreword that he had written, and it was like the best advice ever. And I'm trying to find it because because it was the best advice that I ever read.
We'll edit this part out.
Here we go. No, yeah, sorry. Here we go. And I'm just going to read this, and this is sort of like how I've lived my life, and this is it. And I'm cutting out a bunch of it, but this is what she wrote, and it changed my life in my mind. Theater is a safe place to do the unsafe things that need to be done. When it's not a safe place, it's abusive to actors and audiences alike. When its safety is used to protect cowards masquerading as heroes, it's a boring travesty. An actor who is truly heroic reveals the divine that passes through him, that aspect of himself that he does not own and cannot control. The control and the artistry of the heroic actor is in service to his soul. We live in an era of enormous cynicism. Do not be fooled. Don't act for money. You'll start to feel dead and bitter. Don't act for glory. You'll start to feel dead, fat, and fearful. We live in an era of enormous cynicism. Do not be fooled. You can't avoid all the pitfalls. There are lies you must tell, but experience the lie. See it as something dead and unconnected you clutch and let it go. Act from the depth of your feeling imagination. Act for celebration, for search, for grieving, for worship, to express that desolate sensation of wandering through the howling wilderness. Don't worry about art. Do these things and it will be art. And she wrote that. So there was a time when I quit acting and I decided I was going to be a director. And the first play that I ever directed, she gave me that card as like the gift of my opening night. And I've always kept it with me ever since. And I just feel like it has so much great information in just that little piece of writing. But that, I would also add my own personal advice. And the one thing that's gotten me the furthest in my life is surround yourself with good people. I think that is the most important thing that you can do, because no matter what you do or where you are or where you're going, it takes a village. And if you are around selfish, egotistical, succubi,
Right.
Every day will be miserable. But if you surround yourself with good people, anything is possible. And I wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for my friends. And I was going to say too, you know, I remember the days of moving to LA and going to bed crying, honestly, freaking out. How would I get in the union? How am I ever going to become a SAG actor and do these jobs? Like, all I want to do is act. And it seems so impossible because in order to join the union, I need to get a job. But in order to get a job, I need to get an agent. But in order to get an agent, I need to be in the union.
All those
what do I do?
catch-22s.
And honestly, I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for my friends. And so
awesome.
Surround yourself with good people.
Thanks, Armand's friends.
Thanks, guys.
Such great advice from our awesome guests. Thank you guys
Thank you
for
so
joining
much
us.
for joining us.
This was an awesome episode. Ladies and gentlemen, we did it, babe.
We got another one in the can.
Now, if our audience wanted to find you guys and vote for you, what are some avenues to do so?
You can find me on Twitter at Katie Von Till. You can find me on Instagram at Katie Von Till. And you can find me on your TV because I got a spot running right now.
We
It's
saw
so
it.
funny,
We loved it.
Thanks.
Let's see. I'm on Instagram. I'm at Armand J. Vasquez, and the same on Twitter at Armand J. Vasquez. I deleted my Facebook account because I don't like Facebook.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about the same.
I'm still on mine, but don't find me there.
But yeah, you can find me there. And don't forget to vote. Even if you don't vote for us, just vote.
Vote.
And I also wanted to shout out to all the other committee members that helped make this contract.
Yes.
Yeah.
To all of you in New
big
York,
props.
to all of you in LA, Chicago, Dallas, Houston,
New England,
Colorado,
Washington, D.C.,
Atlanta, Florida.
We love you
see
guys.
you. We love you. Thank
We're
you
so
for the work
thankful.
that you guys have put in already and will continue to put in. Ballots go out the end of this month, babe.
Yeah, you guys.
And then they got a month.
Look out for those ballots, you guys, and vote.
Yeah.
You can't complain. You can't talk shit if you don't vote.
And for God's sake, read your emails.